This is the NBC University Theater, bringing you a full-hour dramatization of Nathaniel Hawthorne's brilliant novel, The Marble Faun, starring Miss Lynn Barry. Nathaniel Hawthorne has been ideally defined as the most distinguished craftsman of the New England School of Letters. The product of a mirthless household and the inheritor of a grim Puritan culture, he spent most of his time in brooding solitude, remote from the major activities of his time. And out of his solitude and his contemplations in the field of ethics came several rare and wonderful books, notably The Scarlet Letter, The House of the Seven Gables, The Blithedale Romance, and The Marble Faun. Today, from the NBC University Theater, we bring you a dramatization of The Marble Faun, a work highly invested with symbolism and rich in poetic effect. Here, then, is Miss Lynn Barry in The Marble Faun.
The marble statue stands in the center of the gallery, the clear Roman light shining down from the skylight above. It is a young man, a wild being, bearing in his hand the fragment of a reed pipe. A smile plays about his marble lips, but there is no principle of virtue in his face. He would be incapable of understanding one. He is the Marble Faun, carved by the long dead hands of Praxiteles. Neither man nor animal, but a being in whom both races meet on friendly ground. His body is of a youth of the woods, yet his ears are leaf-shaped, furred, and capped by tiny points. A creature of the days long past when man was closer to the trees, the grass, the streamlets of the woodlands. Caught in the peak of his wild, free dance, he is the Marble Faun, left over from an age of nature long since dead. And now, before the statue, stands a young man. A gay young man who throws his head back and laughs with thick black curls dancing about his forehead. Quickly, he takes the position of the statue. And so they stand, the Marble Faun and the laughing young man side by side. Around the pair stand three others. Kenyon, the American sculptor. Hilda, New England girl. And Miriam.
It's perfect. The resemblance is perfect. Shake aside those curls. Let's see whether you are the faun to the tip of your ears.
No, Signorina, I entreat you. Take the tips of my ears for granted.
We must find out. Here, Donatello, let me.
None of my race can allow that, Signorina. It is a tender point with my forefathers and me.
Your tender point shall be safe, then, Donatello.
Shall we move on to the next gallery, Miriam? There are the Da Vinci sketches.
No, wait, Hilda. We mustn't leave the Marble Faun so soon. He is the same as Donatello. They are one race, the two. Warm, sensuous, living as mankind did before sin and sorrow were planted in his mind. A creature from the time before the stiff cloak of morality covered the naked modesty of nature. Here is eternal youth, eternal happiness. Oh, God, I wish I could forget my life. Or failing that, one day of it.
Now the Marble Faun stands alone again. Donatello dances on ahead of his three companions, Kenyon the sculptor, Hilda, New England-born, daughter of the Puritans, and Miriam, painter, the dark beauty of the ancients, without past, without roots in any land.
Where do you come from, Signorina Miriam? Where is your home?
You haunt me, Donatello. Let me keep my mist about me.
They say strange things about you, Signorina. They tell strange stories in the galleries. You're a daughter of an Eastern prince, they say, running from a marriage. or a high-born English lady come to Rome for love of art. Tell me the truth, Signorina. Tell me who you are.
But Miriam told no one. And all that the world of art in Rome knew was that her paintings had a pagan light, a wild joy that caused the severe fathers of the academies to frown and pull long faces. Now the four, Kenyon, Hilda, Miriam, and Donatello, went to the catacomb of St. Calixtus. They wandered by torchlight through the pathways of that vast tomb beneath the city, studying the frescoes, the holy pictures painted so many years ago on those walls hewn from rock in some forgotten age.
Yes, see there, Padrones, in the chapels. Those are the bones of the blessed Christian dead.
Hold the torch higher, guide.
See.
I hate this. I hate it all. The sunlight, Signorina. Let us hasten back to the blessed sunlight.
These bones are too old and too sacred to have ghosts. They should not frighten you.
Has anyone ever been lost in here, guide?
Oh, surely, Signor. The first 1,500 years ago, a pagan of old Rome who hid himself to spy out and betray the blessed saints who dwelt and worshipped here. A miracle was wrought on the accursed one.
A miracle?
Ever since that day, he wanders, groping through the darkness, seeking someone to lead him to the blessed sunshine. And thus he will wander till the end of time.
There's a ghost for you, Miriam. Miriam,
Where is she?
hold that torch higher, guide. Miriam! She was speaking a minute ago.
She was in the shadow, Kenyon.
She's gone. Torches. More light. Torches.
No, calmly.
No, she's lost. The beautiful one. Signorina! 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 Signorina!
She's lost, Signor. Lost.
No, wait.
Here!
Here she, praise God.
Hurry, it was this way.
Miriam?
Signorina.
There she is. Miriam, where did you...
Yes, Kenyon.
Who's that with you? Who is he?
A messenger from... I know not where.
She has called me forth.
Holy Mother, it is he, the pagan.
Who is it? I can't see in the dark. Come forward, you.
She has called me back into the world.
Who are you? How long have you been wandering here?
1,500 years, Signor. It is he, the phantom, who sought to betray the blessed saints.
Here, hold up that torch. A man's no more a phantom than yourself. Here, let's have a look at him.
Inquire not what I am, nor wherefore I abide in the darkness.
Holy Virgin.
Henceforth, I am a shadow behind her footsteps. She has called me forth and must abide the consequences of my reappearance in the world.
And from that day, he followed Miriam through the streets of Rome, through the galleries and the studios of the painters and sculptors, as closely as the shadow he had proclaimed himself to be. All Rome knew his fierce stride as he haunted her through the weeks. But who he was, where he had come from, these they could but guess.
Who is he? Why, my model. Or if you like, he's promised to teach me the ancient method of fresco painting, and then I shall return with him to the dark. Or if you prefer a moral story, I am to convert him from paganism. I lose patience. Make up your own tale. He's my shadow, and I shall not answer further. Don't ask again.
What is he? Man or demon? The Signorina is so sad. She smiles no more at Donatello. She was so happy. I hate him. I hate him.
Donatello, welcome. Sit down. Tell me the news of the woodlands, of Arcadia.
Your room is so dark, so shadowy.
You're afraid, Faun?
I fear gloomy houses and the dark. Unless it's the dark of the woods, for there the moon steals through.
Oh, you are a wood sprite, Donatello. But the world is sadly changed now. You are centuries late, Faun. You're alone, the last of your race.
I'm glad to have my lifetime while you live. Are you angry with me now?
No, no. Here, busy yourself, boy. Look at the pictures.
Yes, I don't like them, Signorina.
What? Even though I painted them?
No. They're dark and bloody. Women with arms stained in blood. They're not happy pictures.
No. What should a boy, a faun like you, know of sorrow? Donatello, I shall paint a picture in oils. A gay, happy picture.
Oh, do, Signorina.
A dance. A pagan dance.
Yes.
And I shall want you for the wildest dancer of them all.
Oh, Signorina.
Will you dance for me someday, Donatello?
And play my pipe. See, I have it here. I shall sing and dance and play, and you will paint a happy picture. A happy, laughing picture.
That's it, Donatello. I shall call it the Dancing Faun. No cares, no moral darkness over you. Just light and life and music.
It is time. It is time now.
Signorina, the spectre.
You will paint me now. You have called me to the light, and you will paint me now.
No, Signorina. You smiled just now. It's finished. You're sad again.
Calm me, Donatello. I must paint from the model now.
No.
Here, boy, you're shivering.
Your face is dark again, as dark as his.
It is, I know. Go outside, Donatello. Go look at gay sights, at the sunlight on the streets. I'll meet you later at the Villa Borghese.
He waited there through the afternoon in the wild, tangled woodlands beside the Villa Borghese, and he drank in the fresh scent of the grasses as wine. He ran races with himself through the glens, leaping up to catch the overhanging boughs, and then to bring himself closer to the genial earth, he threw himself full length upon the ground and buried his eager face in the soft grasses and scattered flowers. And then, as the faun of old, he lay upon his bed of nature and basked in the warming sun.
Donatello.
Signorina! Oh, dearest Signorina, I've waited.
Full length upon the grass. Tell me, Faun, where are your friends, the nymphs, the satyrs? Where is your master Bacchus?
I'll play my pipe for you.
You're happy, Faun. What makes you so?
Because I love you.
Why should you, foolish boy? There are not two creatures less alike in this wide world than you and I.
You are yourself, and I am Donatello. I love you. There needs no other reason.
Take warning, Donatello. It is a sad fatality that has taken you from your country and placed you at my side. You've been happy till now?
Oh, yes, Signorina. To dance with the contadine, to taste the new sweet wine, to roam through the woods. I've been happy, but never as I am now with you.
You live for the moment, Donatello. How long will this last?
How long? How long does my tune last, Signorina? Forever. Forever.
Child, leave me now. I might make you dread me, perhaps hate me. Listen to me, Donatello. Leave me, leave me. Then for this hour let me be as he, and tomorrow back to my reality, back to the dark dream in which I walk. So be it. Donatello, This hour I shall be as close to nature as yourself. This hour I shall be as gay as Donatello. Lead on, Faun. Lead on till tomorrow.
Come dance with me. There's music somewhere in the grove.
The contadines. The peasants dance to celebrate the spring. Come, Donatello, play your pipe. Play his hand himself. Play, Faun, play! Donatello, you have an unfair advantage with me. I am no true creature of the woods, while you are a real Faun. I do believe I see the pointed ears when your curls toss back.
Dance, Signorina. If we take breath, we shall be as we were yesterday. Now is the music. Dance now, Miriam. Dance as I do. Dance!
The peasants of the Campagna whirl to the maddened music. Wilder and wilder, the wide skirts flashing in the sun, the ribbons dancing with light, music going faster and faster. The wild ring of mirth spread clear across the glade, as a sculptured scene of gaiety upon an antique sarcophagus. And so in mirth, in gaiety, there is always doom and sorrow. And as the revel grows to highest frenzy, the darkness claims its own.
Miriam, there in the shadows. It is he, the dark one, the stranger.
This must end here, Donatello.
No.
Let me go. Let me go to the shadows where he waits for me. Our hour as nymph and faun is ended.
Miriam.
Go and look not behind you.
Who is it? Who is it that stands in the shadow beckoning? Who is he?
Hush, leave me. Your hour is past. His is come.
I hate him. I hate the dark catacomb he came from. I hate the steps he takes to haunt you.
Be satisfied. I hate him, too.
Then shall I clutch him by the throat? Shall I kill him, Signorina? Bid me do so, and we are rid of him forever.
In heaven's name, no violence. Have pity on me, Donatello. Forgive me this one wild hour. Follow me no further.
Not follow you? Signorina, what other path have I?
Make me not more wretched by remembrance of having thrown fierce hates or loves into your happy life. Leave me now, Donatello, leave me. I must speak with him. You follow me too closely. Do you know what will be the end of this?
I know well what must be the end.
Tell me then. My foreboding is dark.
You must vanish. Throw off your mask and leave no trace in Rome. It is in my power to compel you to my bidding. You know the penalty.
For me, there is another penalty. Death. Simply death.
Oh, you are strong and warm with life. You have tried, but you cannot die. You cannot escape me thus.
I pray that we might die. Both die and there be peace.
Never. You have brought me back into the world, and you will obey my bidding.
Then the end is death.
Aye. Men have said that white hand was once stained with blood.
You at least have no right to think me murderous.
It is a white hand, but I have known hands as white which all the water in the ocean would not have washed clean. No, Miriam. We met again in the grave of the earth. We would meet again in desert or on the lonely mountain top. You shall not escape me.
And from this height, Hilda, you can see across the Via Borghese to the Tiber.
Kenyon, look there, at the edge of the wood.
The man?
Is it not Donatello walking alone, so forlorn?
Donatello? Yes, it is. But so sad. I've never seen him so. Really, Hilda, I'm afraid our friend is no true faun.
Did you think him so, too?
My dear Hilda, Donatello is a Tuscan born. a noble of an ancient race. He is master of a tower in the Apennines. We've thought of him as one of us, but if we paid due respect, we'd reverence him as the Conde de Montebeni.
Donatello, a count?
Donatello, stop. He's looking back.
It's Miriam.
And that beggar, the model. Who is he, Hilda? Miriam confides in you. Who is this stranger?
She says nothing, Kenyon. But she's afraid of him. Look, she kneels at the fountain. She kneels before him.
She kneels to reach the water.
No, look at her wring her hands. She's in some sad dream, imprisoned in an iron cage, with that dark stranger, her turnkey.
Is not the fountain stained with your hand, Miriam?
Leave me.
Will not the red flow down to the Tiber and then to the sea?
My hand was not so stained before you clasped it.
Signorina.
In the name of all the saints, vanish, demon, leave me.
Never, Miriam.
Signorina.
Never. You have brought me to the sun again. I shall follow after you.
Bid me drown him. Signorina, but say, and you shall hear his death gurgle in another instant.
Peace, Donatello. Do him no hurt. He is mad.
I hate him, Signorina. He hurts you.
Hush, boy.
I have changed, Signorina, since I know you. Now I've lost my reed pipe. Feel my hand. It's so hot. And my heart burns hotter.
Poor Donatello, you are ill. Go back to your hills, foolish one. Is there anything in Rome which is worth the life you led before?
Yes, Signorina, yes. The burning pain in my heart, for you are in the midst of it.
Donatello, wild youth, get back to your vineyards, your olive orchards in the hills. Live happily as your fathers did. There is a great evil hanging over me. Go, lest it crush you, too.
You cannot drive me from you.
Donatello, poor simple boy. Tomorrow I must tell you all. I must make you hate me and send you off. What a sin to stain your joyous nature with the blackness of a woe like mine.
High above the Roman city is that cliff from which the traitors to the ancient state were hurled to death upon the rocks of the Tiber flood. Here in the moonlight, the roofs of the city stretch out below. A long, misty wreath, just dense enough to catch the light, floats above the winding line of the Tiber. And the dome of St. Peter's gleams as though it were a second moon.
Oh, what a beautiful view of the city. Have you been here before, Miriam?
No, never.
Look over the parapet.
Oh.
Still a deadly fall. Think, Hilda, think. Here many a Roman took his last look at his city.
It is cold. Let us go, Signorina. The mist rises, bringing the malaria.
Come, it is midnight. Too late to be dreaming on the edge of a precipice. Coming, Miriam?
Go on without me, Kenyon.
But Miriam...
Donatello will stay with me.
Forever, Signorina.
Very well. Come, Hilda. Careful on the cobbles.
It's cold, Signorina. Won't you come away, please?
Now, mind the gate, Hilda.
No. Wait, Kenyon.
What is it?
I must go back. No, don't come with me. I'm afraid for Miriam. There's some sorrow, something that she might find relief in telling me.
But, Hilda...
Go on. Donatello will see us home. Please, Kenyon.
Well, take care, dearest Hilda.
I shan't be long.
It would be a fatal fall still, Donatello. How soon it would be over.
I'll wait till they're done. Oh, Miriam, poor soul.
Who are they, Signorina, who've been flung over this cliff in days gone by?
Men whose lives poisoned their fellows.
Was it well done?
It was well done. The innocent were guarded by the destruction of the evil.
Signorina, see there by the wall.
What is it, Donatello?
He's there again, the ghost, the pagan. He haunts you still.
Aye, and will forever.
No,
Miriam.
No.
Tell him.
No, no more.
Tell him.
Now, demon, you will hurt her no more.
Loose me, you mad fool.
Donatello!
Now I have him over the traitor's cliff. Shall he die, Signorina? Shall he die?
No.
Go then back to the earth. Go!
Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord, save us.
What have you done?
I did what your eyes bade me when I held him over the cliff. Your eyes commanded me.
No, you have killed him, Donatello. Oh, would that it were I.
He had his trial in that breath when I held him over the cliff. His sentence in your eyes when they answered mine. Oh, Miriam, say that he died with your consent, or I shall join him on the stones below.
No, Donatello, you spoke the truth. My heart consented. We slew him, the two. The deed knots us together for time and eternity, like the coil of a serpent.
I feel it. Miriam, we draw one breath. We live one life.
No more loneliness, my innocent one. Cast it behind you. We are cemented in his blood. His death exists no more.
The NBC University Theater is bringing you Miss Lynn Barry in a radio version of Nathaniel Hawthorne's The Marble Faun. This play is part of a series devoted to the classic novels of Anglo-American literature. If you're interested in supplementing your enjoyment of these productions with home study under college supervision, be sure to listen to the announcement at the close of this program. And now our intermission commentator, Mr. Mark Van Doren, Pulitzer Prize-winning poet and professor of English at Columbia University. Speaking from New York, here is Mr. Mark Van Doren.
The Marble Faun is Hawthorne's last completed romance, but its dominant idea is such as to suggest that it might have been the first tale told by him or any other man. The moral setting of the book is as old as Paradise Lost or the Book of Genesis. The story is of how a primitive and innocent spirit undergoes the alteration necessary to make him a member of human society as we have known it since the fall of Adam. Donatello, the young Italian nobleman who looks so much like the Faun of Praxiteles, and who under his curls may conceal a pair of ears that would prove the resemblance more than merely amusing, is by no means young in the world, for his ancestry goes back forever, and the tower he lives in looks out upon a landscape which the centuries have not changed. But in the human world, he is a newcomer who has yet to be initiated in the experiences which for Hawthorne define us as men and women. He has yet to know sorrow, suffering, sin, and guilt. For better or worse, these are the things that mature us, that educate us in the morality of which we are so proud. Donatello has no soul until he has sinned. The crime which all but marries him to Miriam, the beautiful and tragic woman of this world who has tried to keep him from her, is also the means by which Hilda, the New England girl, who is Miriam's friend in Rome, attains to all the human understanding of which she is capable. In a sense, this is true of Kenyon, too, the American sculptor who loves Hilda for the very reason that she has no power to imagine evil. The murder of the mysterious model is thus the heart and meaning of Hawthorne's romance. All of the action leads to it or away from it. It may have been inescapable, but its consequences will live forever, not only in Miriam and Donatello, but in the puritanical Americans who suffer at second remove. The dark and beautiful story of the Marble Faun takes place in a gay city of carnivals, whose music provides an ironic background for what we hear and see happening to the four principals. There is dancing in the streets as the terrible beauty of a new soul is born. Hawthorne had been in Rome and seen this merriment with his own eyes. Only with his imagination, however, did he ever see what goes on at the center of his work. The city where it goes on is Rome, almost a century ago, but the meaning is not dated. It is Hawthorne's creation for all time.
Thank you, Mr. Van Doren. Our radio version of The Marble Faun, starring Lynn Barry, will continue from Hollywood after a brief pause for station identification.
The Church of the Capuchins in Rome stands a little aside from the Piazza Barberini. And there on the morning after the Traitor's Rock came Miriam and Donatello. For the ordinary aspect of life, the commonplace appointment is kept so carefully when a guilty secret weighs on the mind. How sick and tremulous the spirit in the daylight, which has dared so much the night before. How faintly does the criminal stagger onward, lacking the fire, the passion that carried him into guilt.
Here, Miriam, on the steps.
Good morning, Kenny.
Good morning, Miriam. Donatello?
Senor.
Is Hilda not coming? You saw her safely home last night.
No, I have not seen her since we parted. She went back to the cliff to rejoin you.
Impossible.
You did not see her then? I'm afraid that...
Do not fear, senor. I saw her at her tower this morning, feeding the flocks of doves as she always does. She is safe, senor.
Oh. Well, then, Hilda has forgotten her appointment with us.
She'll meet us later. Is it the frescoes on the church wall you wish to show us, Kenyon?
And the sculpture. Well, come along, then, into the church. See, Miriam, each shrine has its carved saint. Are they not magnificent? And the mosaic in the floor.
Kenyon, what is that before the altar? That bier?
One of the Capuchin monks. He lies in state before burial.
No, it is a statue.
Oh, Signorina.
What is the matter, Donatello? You're in a tremble.
The awful music from beneath the church. The air is so heavy with it, I can scarcely draw my breath. And yonder dead monk, he seems to lie across my heart.
Take courage, Donatello. Come, we will go to him. The only way is to stare the ugly horror right in the face. Come.
I'm afraid, Signorina.
Of the dead brother. See, his rosary is in his hand. He is just as in life. There is nothing to fear.
Signorina, the face!
The shadow is deepest.
Oh, my God, what is this? It is he, Signorina. It is he, the spectre. Look, he bleeds. He bleeds again. The blood seeks out his murderer. Oh, Signorina.
Quiet, boy. Go back to Kenyon. Leave me with him. Go.
Oh, Signorina, come away.
Is it thou indeed? Thou hast no right to scowl upon me so. Art thou real or a vision? There is the scar I know so well. It is no vision. No. No, thou shalt not scowl me down. Neither now nor when we stand together at the judgment seat. I fear not to meet thee there. Farewell till that next encounter.
Here, sweet bird. There. I know you've come to my window for me to feed you once again. Here. Gently now.
Hilda!
What? Miriam! I didn't see you enter.
Dearest Hilda, it gives me new life to see you.
No, don't come nearer, Miriam.
Hilda, are we not friends?
No. No.
We were. I loved you dearly. I love you still. Then will you not touch my hand? Am I not the same as yesterday?
No. No, Miriam, please.
Hilda, what have you seen or known of me since we last met?
Miriam. Miriam. A terrible thing.
Is it written in my face or painted in my eyes? Did all Rome see it? Is there some blood stain on me or death scent in my clothing?
I went back, Miriam. Back to the cliff. I saw you and Donatello and I know not who. You knelt to him, and Donatello sprang. It was like a flash of lightning. A look passed from your eyes to Donatello's. A look.
A look, Hilda?
It revealed your heart. Hatred, triumph, vengeance, joy. And then...
No more. No more, Hilda. It is a terrible secret to be kept in a young girl's heart. What will you do with it?
It crushes me to earth, Miriam. I must let it out of my heart or it will burst in asunder.
It will not help you to bear testimony in courts of law about this. Hilda, you would know that justice cannot be done me here on earth. Have you no other friend? Kenyon.
I cannot tell him, Miriam.
He loves you dearly.
Oh, Miriam, I cannot betray you to justice. I must keep your secret. But I shall die of it. Oh, Miriam, your deed has darkened the whole sky.
The tower of Donatello in the wild hills of the Apennines stood square and ancient, bearded with ivy, pierced with loopholes where bowmen of the years gone by had shot their arrows at besieging enemies. The vineyards covered the steep hills, and the twisted olive trees stood clear against the sky. Here on the summit of the tower were Donatello and the sculptor Kenyon.
I thank my forefathers for building the tower so high. I like the windy summit better than the world below.
I thought that you would spend your time in pagan life, tasting rich figs and sampling the fresh-made wine.
I've known such a life when I was a boy. The time flies over us, but leaves its shadow behind.
But the stables, Donatello, the vineyards, surely this was a gay and merry patriarchy?
I am the last of my line. They've all vanished from me since my childhood.
Then you must allow me to model a portrait bust of you, so that the coming generations may remember.
No, it troubles me to be looked at steadily. Only, you may not uncover these ears of mine.
No fear, Donatello. I remember how you stood by the marble faun in the gallery, and Miriam tried to shake away those curls.
You mentioned her name. Tell me all you know of her.
She has left Rome. The studio is vacant. I do not know where she is.
So, I was happy in this tower as a child. Kenyon, let me tell you the legend of my family, the race of Montebenne. It is said my eldest forefather was in truth a faun of the woods, and in the years before the Christ, before almost the world itself, he found on this spot a spring of crystal water, and dwelling in it a nymph. They loved each other and lived in the sparkling water through the golden ages. She taught him how to call her from the silver waters. But then, one day, he came upon the spring all hurried and fevered. He called upon the nymph, but she came not. And then he flung himself down and bathed his hands in the water. The water shrank away and left his hands as dry and feverish as before. He had tried to wash away a blood stain, a guilty blood stain, and he never saw his nymph again. I used to call that nymph when I was young, and sometimes I fancied she would answer. I could call the birds and the little folk of the forest, and they would come. But no more.
Donatello, what has happened to you?
Death. Death. They know it. All nature shrinks from me.
Oh, Donatello, here, come away from the battle.
No, don't worry, friend Kenyon. I cling to life in a way you cannot conceive. And to fall from a precipice is such an awful death.
If it be a great height, a man would leave life in the air and never feel his fall.
No. No, imagine a fellow creature, now breathing, looking you in the face, and then falling, down, 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 with a shriek wavering after him. His life keeps in him till it crashes against the stones, and he lies there, a frightfully quiet, dead heap of bruised flesh and broken bone. A quiver runs through the crushed mass, and then no more. Can you? Would I could endure it, and so dream it no more.
Signor Kenyon?
What is it, Tomas?
Is the master still on the tower?
Yes, he is.
Good. Then the signorina would speak with you.
The signorina?
Yes, signor. She waits outside now. I go now and bring her.
Wait, Tommaso. Who is it?
It is I, Kenyon.
Miriam.
Donatello isn't with you.
No. Miriam, you look very ill. What is wrong?
There is nothing left to me, Kenyon. Nothing left but to brood, brood, brood.
This is very sad, Miriam.
Indeed. I fancy so. It is not remorse, Kenyon. I feel neither regret nor penitence, but to know that Donatello must forever find me an object of horror.
No, no. Miriam, he loves you still.
Is he much changed?
Yes, he is changed. He startles me with perception of deep truths. Out of his bitter agony, a soul and intellect have been inspired into it.
He will reject me, Kenyon. I love him, but I am in great dread of Donatello. Once he shuddered at my touch. If he should shudder again, I would die.
Miriam, we must somehow remove Donatello from this seclusion in which he buried himself. We must bring him back to be the wild faun he was once.
Well, what is your plan, then?
To take him with me through the hills and valleys here in a trip of several weeks.
Kenyon, do you remember the statue of Pope Julius in the square of Perugia?
I do.
I remember standing there one day just as the sun cast the shadow of the Holy Father's hand across my heart, and I fancied a blessing fell upon me then. At the end of your tour, a fortnight from now, bring Donatello at noon to the base of that statue. You will find me there.
The hills and valleys of Tuscany have a wild, ancient aspect, and the two men wandered through them in the warm, sunny daylight hours and slept under the stars at night. Then, when 2 weeks passed, they made their way to the town of Perugia. It was market day, and the square was crowded with the peasants of the countryside come to sell and buy. But one figure stood alone at the foot of the brazen giant that was Pope Julius. A figure dark, shrouded in cloth. A woman with her head sunk in her hands.
Miriam, is it yourself?
It is I.
You are most welcome. Come, let me lead you to Donatello. He stands over there.
No, Kenyon, no. Unless of his own accord he speaks my name.
Miriam, are you afraid?
He must decide himself.
Take your own course. But have you heard news of Hilda? We have no word from Rome.
She is not ill, Kenyon, but she is alone. I fear for her health that she must live in that way much longer.
I must leave immediately, then.
No, wait. Donatello, come this way. I cannot speak to him.
Donatello?
Has he no word for me?
Miriam? Miriam?
You have called me.
My deepest heart has need of you. Oh, Miriam, forgive the coldness with which I parted from you.
Donatello, you were so gifted with the power of sunny life, and it was my doom to bring you within the limits of sinful, sorrowful mortality.
Miriam, we must be together. Is it not so? United by a bond of guilt.
We will find misery, my love, And yet we must be together.
Miriam.
I cannot understand this trembling at the marriage bond as though it were a crime. But now I must to Rome for Hilda.
Farewell, then, Kenyon. May you be happy. You have no guilt to make you shrink from happiness.
And at that moment, high above, the sun cast down a shadow of the giant bronze statue. The outstretched hand of the ancient pope spread its image across the three. Donatello, Kenyon, Miriam, all looked up and felt the bronze pontiff suddenly endowed with spiritual life. And as they stood under his protecting hand, they felt the union of the two blessed, most mysteriously. Now, through the ancient streets of Rome, Hilda wandered, her mind tormented, her soul weary. The horrible secret of Donatello's deed weighed heavily upon the daughter of the Puritans. The galleries, the great paintings lost their enchantment. The vast canvases of Raphael, the divine murals of Fra Angelico, brought no rest. Now Hilda climbed the broad steps of the great cathedral of St. Peter. She was a child of hard New England, and yet this Puritan maid stood before the great carved statue of the Virgin and remembered that in the small white wooden churches of her girlhood, this was an idol, a symbol of idolatry.
But why should there not be a woman to listen to the prayers of women? In all God's thought and care for us, can he have withheld this boon?
Down the long open aisle she walked, the floor paved in faded mosaics, the vast ceiling arching up to the gloom above her. Now in the south transept she came upon the confessionals, where those of the Roman faith may fling down their dark burdens at the foot of the cross and go forth to sin no more, and to live again in the freshness and elasticity of innocence. Then she came upon that dark, shadowy booth marked Pro Anglica Lingua, the confessional for those of the English tongue.
Oh, help. Help, I cannot bear it. Oh, Father, help me. I must speak, I must.
I am here to listen, my daughter. Say on.
I have seen a horrible crime. A sin, Father. A man dashed off a cliff to his death. I cannot keep it within my heart. Oh, Father, help me. Help me.
Her heart's burden burst forth as a stream until the whole horrible tale, barring the names of Miriam and Donatello, was out at last.
Father, I feel as if some torture had stopped. I feel free.
My child, what I must say to you, my daughter, must be spoken face to face.
Yes, Father?
It has not escaped me that this is your first experience with a confessional. How is this?
Father, I am of New England birth. My people are what you call heretics.
Then how have you sought the blessed privilege of absolution?
Absolution? Oh, no, I never dreamed of that. Only our Heavenly Father can grant me that, not mortal man. Father, I know no one here in Rome, and I could not bear to carry this secret longer. It seemed as if I made the awful guilt my own by keeping it hidden in my heart.
But, daughter, the seal of the confessional cannot apply to you. It must be my duty to make your story known to the proper authorities.
No, that can't be right. I came to your confessional to put my heart in God's hands.
Peace, my little countrywoman. There is no need for me to reveal your secret. If I do not mistake me, what you have told me is known already to the governors of Rome.
But what then?
Hush. You have no responsibility for this dark act. Let it trouble you no longer.
Father, I'm a daughter of the Puritans. I will come no more to the confessional. But you have done me a great Christian kindness. I shall not forget.
I cannot bless you in the name of the church, my daughter. But kneel now, and I shall wish you God's mercy as a man.
was the carnival time in Rome when Kenyon found Hilda, free of her terrible secret as never she had been before. And together they went upon the city streets crowded with merrymakers and wandered through the torchlight and leaping shadows. The maskers and merrymakers swirled through the Roman streets. But near the pedestal that surrounds the ancient marble column of the Emperor Trajan stood two solemn figures. Clad as penitents, with wide, deep hoods casting black shadows across their faces, stood Miriam and Donatello. And to them through the crowd came Hilda and Kenyon.
Miriam! Donatello!
Kenyon! Hilda, do you remember Carnival last year? Were we not happy?
It seems so many years ago. We're all so changed.
But shall we not dance again as we did that time? Come, Donatello. One more day of the wild fawn life of old. Black reality will be on us soon enough.
The time is short, Miriam.
Oh, I do not understand, Miriam.
Your veil of mystery grows dimmer.
Nay, then let me dispel it altogether. I am of the Fenici, the ancient line that mingled with the Borgias 3 centuries ago. My mother was English. My father's family rules in southern Italy.
But, Miriam, why hide such a noble parentage?
I was betrothed when I was 7 to an older man of an ancient line.
Horrible.
Not so. Most Italian girls of noble rank would yield to such a marriage as an affair of course. But recollection of my English mother stirred me to rebellion, and when I came of age, I determined to repudiate the contract, for my proposed husband was evil, treacherous, tainted with the insanity which appears in old, close-kept races of men. You can judge. You have all seen his face.
What?
No, Miriam.
Yes, hear me longer. Before I made public my repudiation, my father died, poisoned.
Oh, no.
And my betrothed was to be his heir. Suspicion fell on both of us. He as poisoner, I as accomplice. For the poison was the ancient one of Lucrezia Borgia, a secret handed down through our family.
The authorities?
The old families of great wealth are above the law here in Italy. But I determined to flee, to lose myself. And so I came to Rome as an artist.
But your betrothed, the...
Poisoner? Yes, he was guilty.
But you said we had seen him.
You have. In the catacombs. In the studio, on the cliff. And then still upon his bier in the Church of the Capuchins.
The stranger.
It was he. After the scandal of the poisoning, he fled to the Capuchin fathers and lived many years in penance in the catacomb. But when I met him there, he followed me, threatening to denounce me to the world as poisoner, till Donatello...
Do not speak of it again, Miriam.
One word could have blasted me before you all. Hilda, Donatello, all would have shrunk from me.
No. We would have acquitted you, Miriam.
Miriam, the carnival is almost over. Shall we dance now? The time grows short.
Look at him, Kenyon. See the traces of the old fawn return, yet with the treasure of improvement won from pain. The story of the fall of man. Mark it all within Donatello.
Miriam.
Was it not that very sin of Adam which has destined his race through toil and sorrow to reach a higher happiness than our lost birthright? Mark this in Donatello. He is the story of us all.
Miriam, the time grows short. The carnival is almost over.
In a moment, Faun. More than Faun.
But gay hearts, meant only for enjoyment, have they no place on our earth today? Has life grown now so sad that man must change?
Look at him, Kenyon. Look at Donatello and ask, is sin, like sorrow, merely an element of human education which we must pass through to reach our higher goal?
Miriam, I cannot follow you.
The mind wanders far and wide, Kenyon, and up to the stars. And there is justice only in heaven. We'll wait no longer, Faun. Come dance.
Dance, for the hour grows short. Come, Miriam, once more. One short day.
Come, Donatello, creature of the wood grown wise. This hour is our triumph. Tomorrow is dark, but today is the carnival, and we must dance.
And so into the world went Miriam, her freedom cruelty rather than mercy. For though her crime lay but in a glance, yet the years of sharp remorse would harry her around the world, as did the dark stranger through the streets of Rome. Ask no more for Miriam. She is at last at rest. And Donatello, wild youth who stood once beside the marble faun as before a mirror. In Italy, the dungeons of the prisons lie deep beneath the ground, the damp, cold air so far from the open vinelands, the shadowy woodland glens. Here, in expiation for the sin, the fall that brought the soul and intellect, here lies our Donatello, and on his grief-furrowed face, in his deep, weary, soul-filled eyes, there is no sigh nor lingering trace of that wild creature he once so resembled, the marble faun.
You have been listening to The Marble Faun, an NBC University Theater production of the Nathaniel Hawthorne novel, starring Miss Lynn Barry as Miriam. Next week at the same time, we will bring you another classic of Anglo-American literature, Henry Esmond by William Thackeray. The present semester of the NBC University Theater is devoted to the classics of Anglo-American literature from the time of Henry Fielding to that of Henry James. If you wish, you may learn more about these authors and their works by enrolling in the college-supervised courses now being offered in connection with the NBC University Theater. The University of Tulsa in Oklahoma, Washington State College, and Kansas State Teachers College have now completed their plans for offering such a course in the coming months, thus joining the University of Louisville, whose established home study plan is already serving listeners in another area of the nation. For information, then, as to how you may enhance your knowledge through these courses, write to the NBC University Theater, in care of the University of Louisville, Louisville, Kentucky, Washington State College, Pullman, Washington, the University of Tulsa, Tulsa, Oklahoma, or Kansas State Teachers College, Pittsburgh, Kansas. Let me repeat that. For information, write to the NBC University Theater, in care of the University of Louisville, Louisville, Kentucky, Washington State College, Pullman, Washington, the University of Tulsa, Tulsa, Oklahoma, or Kansas State Teachers College, Pittsburgh, Kansas. The Marble Faun was adapted for radio by Ernest Kenoy. It was Mark Van Doren. Miss Lynn Barry, star of screen and radio. And the narrator was Hy Averback. Our cast included Jane Webb, Don Donner, Jan Arvin. The score was composed and conducted by Dr. Albert Harris. The University Theater is Andrew C. Week. Be with us again for the NBC University Theater dramatization of the William Thackeray novel, Henry Esmond, starring Edmund O'Brien. This program came to you from Hollywood's Radio City. This is NBC, the national broadcasting company.
Living Fiction. Northwestern University, in cooperation with the National Broadcasting Company, brings you a radio dramatization of a timeless story, The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne, another in a series of Living Fiction. The founders of a new colony have invariably found it necessary to allot one portion of the virgin soil as a cemetery and another as a prison site. The grass plot before the jail on a certain summer morning of the late 17th century was occupied by a large number of Puritan inhabitants of Boston, all with their eyes intently fastened on the iron-clamped oaken door. But let us bend an ear to a few of the gossips in the multitude. They can no doubt tell the story better than I.
Good wives, I'll tell ye a piece of my mind. It would be greatly for the public good if we women should have the handling of such a transgressor as this Hester Prynne. Well, what think ye, gossips? If the hussy stood up for judgment before us, would she come off with such a sentence as the worshipful magistrates have awarded?
No! Mary, I trow not. The magistrates are God-fearing gentlemen, but merciful overmuch. At the very least, they should have put a brand of hot iron on Hester Prynne's forehead.
The woman has brought shame on us all, and ought to die.
Mercy on us, good housewife. Is there no virtue save what springs from a wholesome fear of the gallows? This is the hardest word yet.
If I had my way, the woman would be...
Peace! Hush now, gossips. The lock is turning in the prison door.
And this very afternoon at the door. Just see how she repels the town beadle's hold on her. And what's of her own accord?
She carries her babe in her arms.
And the infant does not hide the red letter on her breast.
How elaborately she's embroidered it, with swirls of gold thread.
She hath good skill at her needle, that's certain. What did ever a woman before this brazen hussy contrive such a way of showing it?
Peace, neighbors, do not let her hear you. Not a stitch in that embroidered letter, but she has felt in her heart.
Make way, good people, make way in the king's name. Open a passage, and I promise ye, Mr. Prynne shall be set on scaffold where man, woman, and child may have a sight of her brave apparel from this time till an hour past meridian. A blessing on the righteous colony of the Massachusetts, where iniquity is dragged out into the sunshine. Come along, Madam Hester, and show your scarlet letter in the marketplace.
Now, let us get nearer to the scaffold where she will stand.
Aye, look you. Who is that man on the outskirts of the crowd?
By my people, I've never seen him before. He seems on in years, slightly deformed in one shoulder.
He's addressing himself to one of the townsmen. I should like to know what he has to say.
I pray you, good sir, who is this woman? And wherefore is she here set up to public shame?
You must be a stranger in this region, friend, else you would have heard of Mistress Hester Prynne.
Aye, you say truly, I am a stranger. Will you please to tell me, therefore, of this woman's offences?
She was the wife of a certain learned man, English by birth, who was minded to cross over and cast his lot with us of the Massachusetts. To this purpose he sent his wife before him, remaining himself to look after some necessary matters. Marry, good sir, in some 2 years or less, no tidings have come of this gentleman, Master Prynne, and his young wife being left to her own misguidance. Well, look you, the babe in her arms.
Aye, and who may be the father of yonder babe?
Of a truth, friend, that matter remaineth a riddle. Madam Hester absolutely refuseth to speak.
Her husband should come himself to look into the mystery.
Our magistrates have not put in force the extremity of the law against her, which is death. But in their great mercy have doomed Mistress Prynne to stand only a space of 3 hours on the platform of the pillory, and then, for the remainder of her natural life, to wear a mark of shame, the scarlet A, upon her bosom.
A wise sentence. She will be a living sermon against sin. But it irks me that the partner of her iniquity should not stand on the scaffold by her side. But he will be known. He will be known.
The Reverend Wilson is risen on the scaffold. See, he's going to speak.
Hearken to me, Hester Prynne. I have striven with my younger brother in the service of God, under whose preaching you have been privileged to sit, that he should try to persuade you to divulge the name of him who tempted you to this grievous fall. Good Reverend Dimsdale, the responsibility of this woman's soul lies greatly with you. Will you not change your mind and exhort her to repentance and confession?
Hester Prynne, thou hearest what Reverend Wilson says, and seest the accountability under which I labor. If thou feelest it is for thy soul's peace, I charge thee to speak out the name of thy fellow sinner and sufferer. Be not silent for any mistaken pity and tenderness for him. Take heed how thou deniest to him who perchance has not the courage to seize it for himself, the bitter but wholesome cup that is now presented to thy lips.
Woman, speak out the name. That and thy repentance may avail to take the scarlet letter off thy breast.
Never.
It is too deeply branded. You cannot take it off.
Speak, woman! Speak and give your child a father!
I will not speak. My child must seek a heavenly father. She shall never know an earthly one.
It is said that after she returned to prison, Hester Prynne's calm manner gave way to one that was overwrought.
A sort of physician was called in.
Aye, the stranger we saw in the marketplace this morning. The one with the deformed shoulder.
He seems to be a learned man with herbs and leeches.
I saw thee in the marketplace today.
I know thou didst. Drink this potion.
I have thought of death, have wished for it. Yet if death be in this cup, I bid thee think again ere I drink it.
Dost thou know me so little, Hester Prynne? If I imagined a scheme of vengeance, what could I do better than let thee live? Drink. Hester, I ask not how thou hast fallen in the pit. It was my folly and thy weakness. What had I? A man already in decay. What had I to do with beauty and youth like thine? From the moment when we came down the old church steps together, a married pair, I might have beheld that scarlet letter blazing at the end of our path.
Thou knowest I was frank with thee. I felt no love nor feigned any.
I thought I could warm thee by the warmth thy presence gave me.
I have greatly wronged thee.
We have wronged each other. Between us the scale hangs fairly balanced. But Hester, the man lives who has wronged us both. Who is he?
Ask me not. That thou shalt never know.
Thou mayest cover up thy secret from the prying multitude. But as for me, I shall seek this man as I have sought truth in books and gold and alchemy. Sooner or later he will be mine.
Thy words interpret thee as a terror.
One thing I would enjoin upon thee. House, thou hast kept the secret of thy paramour. Keep likewise mine. Breathe not to any human soul that thou didst ever call me husband. Should thou fail me in this, beware.
I will keep the secret.
And now, Mistress Prynne, Roger Chillingworth, as I shall henceforth be known in Boston, leaves you alone.
Why dost thou smile so at me? Hast thou enticed me into a bond that will prove the ruin of my soul?
Not thy soul, Hester. No, not thine.
There goes Hester Prynne across the street with a child, Pearl.
I should think she'd be too shamed to bring her into town with her.
It cannot be helped, living as she does in that lonely cottage out from the town. There's no one to leave the child with.
See how her letter gleams in the sun? As if it were on fire.
Yeah, fire with sin? How old is the child now?
3 years. One might call her beautiful, if she were not the product of Satan.
Just see how the woman keeps her dressed, like a bird of royal plumage.
She's going toward Governor Billingham's mansion.
I understand. He ordered a pair of embroidered gloves from her for an important occasion of state.
Yes?
Is the worshipful Governor Billingham within?
He hath the Reverend Dimsdale with him, and also the physician, Mr. Chillingworth.
I will enter and wait.
Very well.
Look, Mother, in the big shiny kettle. I see thee, and thy letter shines so bright.
Hush, child. I hear voices coming.
Hawthorne, what have we here?
Good morrow, thy worship.
It is well thou hast come, Hester Prynne. The council has been discussing whether we should trust an immortal soul such as yon child to the guidance of one who has stumbled and fallen. Were it not better for thy little one that she be taken out of thy charge and clad soberly and disciplined strictly and instructed in the truths of heaven and earth?
God gave her into my keeping. I will not give her up. Reverend Dimsdale, Thou wast my pastor, and hadst charge of my soul, and knowest me better than these men. Speak for me. I will not lose the child.
There is truth in what she says. God gave her the child and an instinctive knowledge of its nature and requirements which no other mortal can possess. This child of its father's guilt and mother's shame has come from the hand of God. It was meant for a blessing, the one of her life. It was meant also for a retribution, too, a pang, a sting, an ever-recurring agony in the midst of a troubled joy. For Hester Prynne's sake, and no less for the child, let us leave them as Providence has seen fit to place them.
Well said, good Reverend. What say you, Mr. Chillingworth? Hath he not pleaded well for the poor woman?
Aye, well, and with a strange earnestness.
Have you heard the blessed news?
Aye, the Reverend Dimsdale, who's so long been in poor health, we feared for his life. But he's finally consented to take the advice of this physician, Mr. Chillingworth.
And not a moment too soon.
And now Mr. Chillingworth is lodged in the same house with the minister, so as to give him his closest attention at all hours.
It was Mr. Chillingworth's own idea.
An inspired one. The two will be good company for each other, since they're both of such learned minds. They say the minister often reads in Mr. Chillingworth's room while he prepares.
Oh, where, my kind doctor, did you gather those herbs, such a dark and flabby leaf?
Even in the graveyard just below the window there. I found them on a grave which bore no tombstone. They're new to me. It may be they grew out of the dead man's heart and typify some hideous secret that was buried with him, and with which he had done better to confess during his lifetime.
The chance earnestly desired to, but could not.
And wherefore not? Since all the powers of nature call so earnestly for the confession of sin that these black weeds have sprung up out of a buried heart to make manifest an unspoken crime.
That, good sir, is but a fantasy of yours. A knowledge of men's hearts is needful to the complete solution of the problem. And I conceive that the hearts holding such miserable secrets that you speak of will yield them up at that last day, not with reluctance, but with a joy unutterable.
Then why not reveal them here? Why should not the guilty ones sooner avail themselves of this unutterable solace?
They mostly do. Many a poor soul hath given its confidence to me, and what a relief I've witnessed in them afterwards. How can it be otherwise?
Yet some men bury their secrets.
True, there are such men. But it may be they keep silent because they retain a zeal for God's glory and man's welfare, so that they shrink from displaying themselves black, because henceforth no good can be achieved by them, no evil of the past redeemed by better service.
These men deceive themselves. They fear to take up the shame which rightfully belongs to them.
I wanted to ask your judgment frankly, sir, concerning the condition of my health.
Very well. I shall give it freely and honestly. This order is a strange one. The disease is what I seem to know, yet know it not. Hath all the operation of this disease been fairly laid open to me?
How else can it be?
You would tell me, then, that I know all? Be it so. But again, he to whom only the outward and physical evil is laid open oft-time knows but half the evil which he is called upon to cure. A bodily disease may after all be but a symptom of some ailment in the spiritual part. Would you therefore that your physician heal the bodily evil? How may this be unless you first lay open to him the wound in your soul?
No, not to thee, not to an earthly physician. If it be the soul's disease, then I do commit myself to the one physician of the soul. He can cure or kill me. But who art thou that meddlest in this matter, that dares thrust himself between a sufferer and his God?
As with one passion, so with another. He hath done a wild thing ere now, this pious Master Dimsdale, in the hot passion of his heart.
Hast thou been aware that Hester Prynne is not looked upon by the townspeople in the same light as 7 years ago when she first covered herself with ignominy?
And for good reason. Her charity is boundless. In all seasons of calamity, she has taken a needed place.
Even tonight, she's sitting by the deathbed of Governor Winthrop. Or perhaps she'll stay till long past midnight, if she can be of use.
Come along now, Pearl. It's very late and we must be getting home.
Hester. Hester Prynne, is that you?
Yes, it is Hester Prynne. I and my little Pearl.
Whence came you, Hester? What sent you?
I've been watching at the deathbed of Governor Winthrop.
Come up here, on the scaffold, Hester, and little Pearl. We have both been here before, but I was not with you. Come up hither once again, and we shall all three stand together. Give me thy hand, Pearl.
Minister,
Yes, child?
wilt thou stand here with Mother and me tomorrow noontide?
Nay, not so, my little Pearl. I shall indeed stand with thy mother and thee one other day, but not tomorrow.
What other day?
At the great judgment day. But the daylight of this world will not see our meeting.
Worthy sir.
Hester Chillingworth!
Pious Master Dimsdale, can this be you? Well, indeed. We men of study, whose heads are in our books, have need to be straightly looked after. We dream in our waking moments and walk in our sleep. Come, good sir, and my dear friend, I pray you let me lead you home.
How did you know I was here?
Verily, I knew nothing of the matter. I had been at the bedside of the governor, doing what my poor skill might to ease him. Come with me, I beseech you, reverend sir, else you will be poorly fit to do the Sabbath duty tomorrow.
This is a new part of the forest we walk in today, Mother.
Yes, child.
Mother, who is that old man yonder pulling up weeds? I have seen him before.
It doesn't concern you, Pearl. Run down to the margin of the water and play with the shells until I call you.
Yes, Mother. I'll make a crown for myself out of the seaweed.
Roger Chillingworth, I would speak a word with you that concerns us much.
Ah, and is it Mistress Hester that has a good word for old Roger Chillingworth? I hear good tidings of you on all hands, mistress. What see you in my face that you look at it so earnestly?
Something that would make me weep if there were any tears bitter enough. But let it pass. It is of a miserable man that I would speak.
And what of the Reverend Dimsdale?
7 years ago in prison you extorted a promise of secrecy from me concerning your real identity. As the life and fame of yonder man were in your hands, there seemed no choice to me. Since that day, no man is so near to him as you. You tread behind his every footstep. You cause him to die a living death daily, and still he knows you not. In permitting this, I have acted a false part to the only man to whom it was left to me to be true.
What evil have I done this man? That he now breathes and creeps about the earth is owing all to me.
Better he had died at once.
Yea, woman, you say truly. Better he had died at once. Did there ever mortal suffer what this man has? And all in the sight of his worst enemy?
Hast thou not tortured him enough? Has he not paid thee all?
No, he has but increased the debt.
Then I must reveal your secret. He must discern thee in thy true character. There's no good for him, no good for me, no good for thee in this dark maze.
Woman, thou hast great elements. I pity thee for the good that has been wasted in thy nature.
And I thee for the hatred that has transformed a wise and a just man to a fiend. Wilt thou not yet purge it out of thee and be once more a human? I said there could be no good event for any of us in this maze of evil. It is not so. There might be good for thee, and thee alone, who has it at thy will to pardon. Wilt thou reject that priceless benefit?
Peace, Hester. Peace. It is not granted me to pardon. I have no such power as thou tellest me of. Let the black flower blossom as it may. Now, go thy ways, and deal as thou wilt with the man.
Be it sin or no, I hate that man.
Good Master Dimmesdale to take one of his long walks in the forest,
where he will meditate on some text of Holy Script.
It is surely his spiritual zeal that keeps him alive, for his body is so weak, I marvel he can walk.
I have come many days to this spot, hoping thy walks might bring thee here.
Hester, hast thou found peace?
Hast thou?
None. Nothing but despair. Hester, I am most miserable.
The people reverence thee.
Which brings only more misery because of its hypocrisy. Had I one friend, or it were my worst enemy to whom I could daily betake myself, methinks my soul might keep itself alive thereby.
Such a friend thou hast in me. But thou hast long had such an enemy, and dwellest with him under the same roof.
What sayest thou? What mean you?
That old man, Roger Chillingworth. He was my husband.
I might have known it. I did know it. Why did I not understand?
Forgive me.
I forgive you. May God forgive us both. We are not the worst sinners in the world, Hester. That old man's revenge is blacker than our sins. But, Hester, does he know your purpose in revealing his identity to me?
Yes.
And how am I longer to live breathing the same air with a deadly enemy? Be thou strong for me, Hester. Advise me what to do.
Is the world so narrow? Does the universe lie within the compass of yonder town? With a lead yonder forest? Oh, then there's a broad pathway of the sea.
The sea?
Yes. A ship is now in harbor that within 3 days' time will sail to Bristol. Oh, it will be a simple matter indeed to secure passage with all the secrecy necessary.
Oh, Hester, thou tellest of running a race to a man whose knees are tottering beneath him. There is no strength, no courage left to me to venture into the wide world alone.
Thou shalt not go alone.
Wherefore have all the people left their work today, Mother? Why have all these people come into the marketplace?
They wait to see the inaugural procession pass. There will be the governor and magistrates and the ministers and all the great people. There will be music and marching soldiers.
Will the minister be here? And will he hold out both his hands to me and kiss me as he did in the forest yesterday?
He will be here, child, but he will not greet thee today. Nor must thou greet him.
Look, Mother. Here comes the man who lives on the ship. The man you talked to yesterday afternoon.
Good morrow, Mrs. Prynne.
Good morrow, Captain.
I must make the steward get ready one more berth than you bargained for, I learned.
What mean you? Have you another passenger?
Why, know you not that another is minded to try my cabin fare with you? Aye, you must have known it. For he tells me he's of your party, and a close friend of the gentleman you spoke of, and will bring him aboard with him. His name, I believe, is Chillingworth.
Look, here comes the procession.
Aye, there's the governor.
And Master Dimmesdale. Why, his election sermon was the greatest triumph of his life.
Such eloquence. Oh, there goes the holy man in the procession now.
I didn't think it's going to be such a wonderful celebration.
Look you. Reverend Dimmesdale leads the procession line and is walking this way.
The procession.
Let me through, let me through, please.
He's walking toward the scaffold against which stands Hester Prynne.
Hester, come hither. Come, my little pearl.
Madman, hold! What is your purpose? I can yet save you. Would you bring infamy upon your sacred profession?
Methinks you are too late, tempter. Thy power is not what it once was. With God's help, I shall escape thee now. Come, Hester, come. support me on yonder scaffold. So, you come with us, Roger Chillingworth.
Hadst thou sought the whole world over, there was no one place where thou couldst have escaped me, save on this very scaffold.
Thanks to him who led me here. Hester, is this not better than what we dreamed of in the street?
I know not. Oh, I know not.
Let me now do the will which he hath made plain before my sight. For Hester, I am a dying man, so let me make haste to take my shame upon me. People of New England, ye that have loved me and deemed me holy, behold me here, the one sinner of the world. At last, I stand upon the spot where 7 years ago I should have stood. Here with this woman whose arm supports me. Oh, the scarlet letter Hester wears. You have shuddered whenever you saw it. I tell you that with all its mysterious horror, it is but a shadow of what I bear on my own breast. Behold! Behold the dreadful witness to it!
The minister tears the band from his breast.
A scarlet letter cut out into his flesh.
Thou hast escaped me.
May God forgive thee. Thou too hast deeply sinned. Hester, farewell.
Shall we not meet again? Shall we not spend our immortal lives together?
Hush, Hester. We have sinned. That answer lies with God, who has the power to forgive all. His will be done. Farewell. Farewell.
Arthur?
Hester Prynne? Yes, she came back to us again.
No, she left the town for a good many years.
When Master Chillingworth died, the year after the minister, he bequeathed a goodly sum to little Pearl.
And Hester returned without Pearl.
And though Hester Prynne refused to take off her scarlet letter, she became a reverenced person in the town.
And before she died, she asked that the only inscription on her tombstone be the letter A.
The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne is another in a series of living fiction, presented each week by Northwestern University in cooperation with the National Broadcasting Company. The Scarlet Letter was adapted for radio by Agnes Eckhart. The cast and directors were students of Northwestern University. Hester Prynne was played by Faith Kellogg, Arthur Dimsdale by Richard Swift, and Roger Chillingworth by Tam Spiva. The two gossips were played by Millette Alexander and Norma Leanza. Others in the cast were Jermaine Golda, Fred Posner, David Press, Jim Holston, and Dave Adams. The assistant director was Roger Running. The director was Ginger Funston. The entire production was under the supervision of John Cowan. This is Jim Hamilton speaking. This is the NBC Radio Network.
The world's greatest short stories, brought to you by Nelson Olmsted. From the master pens of the literary world have come stories which live, powerful in their tragedy, tenderness, or romance. And these are the world's greatest short stories. Such a story is brought to you again tonight by Nelson Olmsted.
While Giovanni Guasconti stood at the window of his room one morning, he saw the slight figure of Signor Rappaccini walking in his unusually magnificent garden. Giovanni had not long been in Pardieu, Italy, but his curiosity concerning his neighbor had grown daily. He'd heard many strange stories concerning Rappaccini, who, it was said, was a famous doctor who distilled plants of his garden into medicines that were as potent as charms. As Giovanni watched, he noticed that nothing could exceed the intentness with which this scientific gardener examined every shrub which grew in his garden. And yet, he avoided their actual touch or the direct inhaling of their odors with a caution that impressed Giovanni most disagreeably. The gardener, while plucking away the dead leaves or pruning the too luxuriant growth of the shrubs, defended his hands with a pair of thick gloves. And when in his walk through the garden, he came to the magnificent plant that hung with its bright purple gem-like flowers beside the marble fountain, he placed a kind of mask over his mouth and nostrils, as if all this beauty concealed a deadlier malice. Finding his task still too dangerous, he drew back, removed the mask, and called to his daughter Beatrice to come. Soon there emerged from under the sculptured portal the figure of a young girl, arrayed with as much richness of taste as the most splendid of flowers, beautiful as the day, and with a bloom so deep and vivid that one shade more would have been too much. And as Beatrice came down the garden path, it was observable that she handled and inhaled the odor of several of the plants which her father had most sedulously avoided. Her father spoke. Here, Beatrice, see how much needs to be done to our chief treasure. And yet, shattered as I am, my life might pay the penalty of approaching it so closely as circumstances demand. Henceforth, I fear, this plant must be consigned to your sole charge. And gladly will I undertake it, said the young lady, as she bent toward the magnificent plant with the purple flowers and opened her arms as if to embrace it. And then she busied herself with such attentions as the plant seemed to require, while Rappaccini, his labors finished, retired into the house. Beatrice now strayed carelessly through the garden, approaching closer beneath Giovanni's window. And at this moment, there came a beautiful insect over the garden wall. Without alighting on the flowers, this winged brightness seemed to be attracted to Beatrice, and lingered in the air and fluttered about her head. Now, Giovanni fancied that while Beatrice was gazing at the insect with childish delight, it grew faint and fell at her feet. Its bright wings shivered. It was dead, from no cause that he could discern, unless it was the atmosphere of her breath. Beatrice crossed herself and sighed heavily as she bent over the dead insect. An impulsive movement of Giovanni's drew her eyes to the window. Scarcely knowing what he did, Giovanni threw down a bouquet of flowers that was near him and said, Signora, these are pure and healthy flowers. Wear them for the sake of Giovanni Guasconti. Thank you, Signor. I accept your gift, and would fain recompense it with this precious purple flower I have. But if I toss it into the air, it will not reach you. So, Signor Guasconti must even content himself with my thanks. And she lifted the bouquet from the ground, and then, as if inwardly ashamed at having stepped aside from her maidenly reserve to respond to a stranger's greeting, passed swiftly homeward through the garden. But few as the moments were, it seemed to Giovanni, when she was on the point of vanishing beneath the sculptured portal, that his beautiful bouquet was already beginning to wither in her grasp. On many days after this incident, the young man talked to Beatrice from the window. Giovanni had not a deep heart, but he had a quick fancy and an ardent southern temperament which rose every instant to a higher fever pitch. Whether or not Beatrice possessed those terrible attributes, that fatal breath, and the affinity with those so beautiful and poisonous flowers, which were indicated by what Giovanni had witnessed, she had at least instilled a fierce and subtle fire into his system. It was not love, although her rich beauty was madness to him, nor horror, even while he fancied her an evil spirit, but a wild offspring of both love and horror that had each parent in it, and burned like one and shivered like the other. Giovanni knew not what to dread, and still less did he know what to hope. One day, when Giovanni's spirits were particularly low, his landlady came to him and whispered that she knew a secret entrance into the garden which he could use. He followed his guide and found himself actually standing in the garden of Dr. Rappaccini. He'd not considered with himself what should be his deportment, whether he should apologize or not for his intrusion into the garden. But Beatrice's manner placed him at his ease. There was surprise in her face when she saw him, but that brightened by a simple and kind expression of pleasure. And she talked with him as if they'd been friends for many years. And while she spoke, there was a fragrance in the atmosphere around her, rich and delightful, yet which the young man, from an indefinable reluctance, scarcely dared to draw into his lungs. While they talked, they strayed through the garden and approached the fountain, beside which grew the magnificent shrub with its treasury of purple blossoms. And Giovanni spoke. "I remember, Signora, that you once promised to reward me with one of these living gems for the bouquet that I had the happy boldness to fling to your feet. Permit me now to pluck it as a memorial of this interview." He made a step toward the shrub with extended hand. But Beatrice started forward, uttering a shriek that went through his heart like a dagger. She caught his hand and drew it back with the full force of her slender figure. Giovanni felt her touch thrilling through his fibers. "Touch it not," she cried. "Not for your life, it is fatal." And then, hiding her face, she fled from him and vanished beneath the sculptured portal. And as Giovanni followed her with his eyes, he beheld the emaciated figure and pale intelligence of Dr. Rappaccini, who had been watching the scene within the shadow of the entrance. After the first interview, a second was in the inevitable course of what we call fate. A third, a fourth, and a meeting with Beatrice in the garden was no longer an incident in Giovanni's daily life, but the whole space in which he might be said to live. For the anticipation and memory of that ecstatic hour made up the remainder. Nor was it otherwise with the daughter of Rappaccini. They loved, and yet there had been no seal of lips, no clasp of hands, nor any slightest caress such as love demands. On the few occasions when Giovanni had seemed tempted to overstep the limit, Beatrice grew so sad and so stern, and withal wore such a look of desolate separation, that not a spoken word was necessary to repel him. Now, a considerable time had passed since Giovanni's last meeting with Professor Baglioni, his teacher, who had first told him about Rappaccini and his daughter. One morning, however, Giovanni was disagreeably surprised by a visit from the professor, who seated himself and proceeded to tell him that Beatrice had been nourished from poisons from her birth upward, until her whole nature was so imbued with them that she herself had become the deadliest poison in existence. The poison was her element of life. With that rich perfume of her breath, she blasted the very air. Giovanni's face evinced many contending emotions. He had suspected this about Beatrice, and so bluntly, he told the professor of his love for her. "Giovanni, my poor Giovanni," the professor answered with some surprise. "But be of good cheer, my son. Possibly we may even succeed in bringing back this miserable child within the limits of ordinary nature, from which your father's madness has estranged her." And so saying, he presented Giovanni with a small vial, in which, he said, was an antidote that would render the most virulent poisons innocuous. "Bestow the vial on your Beatrice, and hopefully await the result." And then, with a comment on the singular fragrance in the apartment, the professor took his leave. The next morning, Giovanni, preparing for his regular visit with Beatrice, purchased a bouquet that was still gemmed with the morning's dewdrops and returned home. And as he put the flowers down, a thrill of indefinable horror shot through his frame as he perceived that those dewy flowers were already beginning to droop. Giovanni grew white as marble. He remembered the professor's remark about the fragrance that seemed to pervade the chamber. It must have been poison in his breath. And then he shuddered at himself. Recovering from his stupor, he saw a vigorous and active spider dangling from his web on the ceiling. Giovanni bent toward the insect and emitted a long, deep breath. The spider suddenly ceased its toil and hung dead across the web. With great wrath and despair, he rushed down to the garden and, in an instant, was standing before the bright and loving eyes of Beatrice. "Accursed one! You've made me like you and enticed me into your region of unspeakable horror." "Giovanni." Beatrice was first thunderstruck and then grieved, for she knew that he had learned her secret. "Giovanni, what do you mean? Do you pretend ignorance? Behold this power I've gained from the pure daughter of Rappaccini." And with this, he sent forth a breath among a group of insects which fell dead to the ground. I see it, shrieked Beatrice. "It's my father's fatal science. No, Giovanni, it was not I, never." and she lost herself in a passion of tears. Giovanni's anger had exhausted itself when he realized that she was not to blame and had no suspicion of what her father was doing. So he presented the antidote to Beatrice, saying that they should quaff it together and thus be purified from evil. She took it at once and drank it, just as Rappaccini emerged from the portal and came toward them, his hands spread over them in an attitude of a father imploring a blessing upon his children. My daughter, you are no longer lonely in this world. My science and the sympathy between you and him have so wrought within his system that he now stands apart from common men as thou dost, daughter, from ordinary women. Pass on, then, through the world, most dear to one another and dreadful to all besides. You are both endowed with marvelous gifts against which no power nor strength could avail an enemy. But as he spoke, Beatrice sank to the ground and died. To Beatrice, so radically had her earthly part been wrought upon by Rappaccini's skill. As poison had been life, so the powerful antidote was death. And thus the poor victim of man's ingenuity and thwarted nature, and of the fatality that attends all such efforts of perverted wisdom, perished there at the feet of her father and Giovanni.
Nelson Olmsted has presented another of the great short stories of world literature, Rappaccini's Daughter, by Nathaniel Hawthorne. And now, for the review of tonight's story, here is Nelson Olmsted.
Nathaniel Hawthorne, who lived from 1804 to 1864, is one writer who struggled with success and failure through the international era of puritanical living, which is attributed, at least in name, to Queen Victoria. Hawthorne's works, although almost always pervaded with a touch of gloom, indicate a deliberate and studied effort to make right and good triumphant, even to the point of being melodramatic and ineffectively obvious. However, Edgar Allan Poe, who was Hawthorne's contemporary, was very impressed with his work, especially his short stories, and through his written criticisms of Hawthorne's work, first constructed a formula or definition of what was then a new and revolutionary form of fiction, the short story. Incidentally, that definition still is accredited and may be found included in most any modern essay on the construction and development of the abbreviated narrative. Now, for our next story, we're going to present a narrative by one of the very first writers of short stories, Washington Irving. His Rip Van Winkle has been revised and simplified almost universally into a children's tale, but in its original form, it still makes good reading. So plan to be with us. Until then, good night and good reading.
NBC presents Nelson Olmsted and his reviews of the world's greatest short stories 3 nights each week, on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, at this same time, over most of these same stations. This is
American Novels. Profound in its revelation and interpretation of human nature, it ranks, said one great critic, among the 15 best novels of the world. NBC's University of the Air brings you Nathaniel Hawthorne's The Scarlet Letter, another in our series of books that live, American Novels. The grass plot before the prison on a certain summer morning of the late 17th century was occupied by a large number of the Puritan inhabitants of Boston, all with their eyes intently fastened on the iron-clamped oaken door. But let us bend an ear to a few of the gossips in the multitude.
Good wives, I'll tell you a piece of my mind. It would be greatly for the public good if we women should have the handling of such a transgressor as this Hester Prynne.
Aye, Mary.
The magistrates are merciful overmuch. At the very least, they should have put the brand of a hot iron on Hester Prynne's forehead.
The woman has brought shame on us all and ought to die.
Hush now, gossips. The lock is turning in the prison door.
See how she repels the town beadle's hold on her and walks of her own accord.
She carries a babe in her arms.
But the infant does not hide the red letter on her breast.
Look how elaborately she has embroidered it with swirls of gold thread.
Make way, good people. Make way in the king's name. Open the passage, and I promise ye Mistress Prynne shall be set on yon scaffold, where man, woman, and child may have a sight of her brave apparel from this time till an hour past meridian. A blessing on the righteous colony of Massachusetts, where iniquity is dragged out into the sunshine. Come along, Madam Hester, and show your scarlet letter in the marketplace. Make way, make way, make way.
I pray you, good sir, who is this woman? And wherefore is she here set up to public shame?
You must be a stranger, else you would have heard of Mistress Hester Prynne.
You say truly I am a stranger. Would you please to tell me, therefore, of Hester Prynne's offenses?
Aye. She was the wife of a certain learned man, English by birth, who was minded to cross over and cast his lot with us of the Massachusetts.
Oh?
To this purpose he sent his wife before him, remaining himself to look after some necessary matters. Marry, good sir, in some 2 years or less, no tidings have come of Master Prynne, and his young wife being left to her own misguidance. Well, look you, the babe in her arms.
Ah, aha. And who may be the father of yonder babe?
That matter remaineth a riddle. Madam Hester absolutely refuseth to speak.
The learned man should come himself to look into the mystery.
Our magistrates have not put in force the extremity of the law against her, which is death, but in their great mercy have doomed Mistress Prynne for the remainder of her natural life to wear a mark of shame, the scarlet letter A upon her bosom.
A wise sentence. She will be a living sermon against sin. But it irks me that the partner of her iniquity should not stand on the scaffold by her side. But he will be known. He will be known.
The Reverend Wilson has risen on the balcony above the scaffold. See, he's going to speak.
Hearken to me, Hester Prynne. I have striven with my younger brother in the service of God, under whose preaching you have been privileged to sit, that he should try to persuade you to divulge the name of him who tempted you to this grievous fall. Good Master Dimsdale, the responsibility of this woman's soul lies greatly with you. Will you not change your mind and exhort her to repentance and confession?
Hester Prynne, thou hearest what Reverend Wilson says, and seest the accountability under which I labor. If thou feelest it to be for thy soul's peace, I charge thee to speak out the name of thy fellow sinner and sufferer. Be not silent for any mistaken pity for him. Take heed how thou deniest to him who perchance hath not the courage to grasp it for himself, the bitter but wholesome cup that is now presented to thy lips.
Woman, speak out the name, that and thy repentance may avail to take the scarlet letter off thy breast.
Never. It is too deeply branded. You cannot take it off.
Speak, woman. Speak and give your child a father.
I will not speak. My child must seek a heavenly father. She shall never know an earthly one.
It is said that after she returned to prison, Hester Prynne's calm manner gave way to one that was overwrought.
Aye, a sort of physician was called in.
Aye, some elderly stranger who appeared only this morning.
I saw thee in the marketplace today.
I knew thou didst. Drink this potion.
If death be in this cup, I bid thee think again ere I drink it.
Dost thou know me so little, Hester Prynne? If I imagine the scheme of vengeance, what could I do better than to let thee live? Drink. Hester, I ask not how thou hast fallen into the pit. It was my folly and thy weakness. What had I, a man already in decay? What had I to do with beauty and youth like thine? From the moment when we came down the old church steps together, a married pair, I might have beheld that scarlet letter blazing at the end of our path.
Thou knowest I was frank with thee. I felt no love, nor feigned any.
True, it was my folly. Between us, the scale hangs fairly balanced. But Hester, the man lives who has wronged us both. Who is he?
That thou shalt never know.
Never, sayest thou? Believe me, Hester, I shall seek this man as I've sought truth in books and gold and alchemy. Sooner or later, he will be mine.
Thy words interpret thee as a terror.
One thing I would enjoin upon thee. Thou hast kept the secret of thy paramour. Keep likewise mine. Breathe not to any human soul that thou didst ever call me husband. Should thou fail me in this, beware. Dost thou understand?
I will keep the secret.
And now, Mistress Prynne, Roger Chillingworth, as I shall henceforth be known in Boston, leaves you alone.
Look, there goes Hester Prynne across the street with the child, Pearl. How old is the child now?
3 years.
See how the woman keeps her dressed. Like a bird of royal plumage.
Oh, 'tis a shame a woman of her kind should be so gifted with the needle.
Aye, yet fortunate for her, since it is the only way she supports herself and the child.
Oh, look, she's going into Governor Bellingham's mansion.
I understand he ordered a pair of embroidered gloves from her for an important occasion of state.
Is the worshipful Governor Bellingham within?
He hath the Reverend Dimsdale with him, and also the physician, Mr. Chillingworth.
I will enter and wait.
Very well.
This is very nice of you, gentlemen. Come. I appreciate it very much. Ah, what have we here? Whose child? Oh.
Good morrow, thy worship.
It is well thou hast come, Hester Prynne. The council has been discussing whether we should trust an immortal soul, such as yon child, to the guidance of one who has stumbled and fallen. Were it not better for thy little one that she be taken out of thy charge, and clad soberly, and disciplined strictly, and instructed in the truths of heaven and earth?
God gave her into my keeping. I will not give her up. Reverend Dimsdale, thou wast my pastor and hadst charge of my soul, and knowest me better than these men. Speak for me.
There is truth in what she says. God gave her the child, and an instinctive knowledge of its nature and requirements, which no other mortal can possess. And moreover, this child was meant for a blessing, the one of her life. It was meant also for a retribution, a pang, a sting, an ever-recurring agony in the midst of a troubled joy. For Hester Prynne's sake, then, and no less for the child, let us leave them, as Providence hath seen fit to place them.
What say you, Mr. Chillingworth? Has he not pleaded well for the poor woman?
Aye, well, and with a strange earnestness.
Have you heard the blessed news?
Aye, the Reverend Dimsdale, who has so long been in poor health that we fear for his life, has finally consented to take the advice of the physician, Mr. Chillingworth.
And now the learned Mr. Chillingworth is lodged in the same house with the minister.
It was Mr. Chillingworth's own idea.
Aye, and an inspired one.
Tell me where, my kind doctor, did you gather those herbs with such a dark and flabby leaf?
Even in the graveyard, just below the window there.
Oh?
I found them on a grave which bore no tombstone. It may be they grew out of the dead man's heart and typify some hideous secret that was buried with him, and which he had done better to confess during his lifetime.
I conceive that the hearts holding such miserable secrets will yield them up at that last day with a joy unutterable.
Then why not reveal them here?
They mostly do. Many a poor soul hath given its confidence to me. And what a relief I have witnessed in them afterward.
Yet some men bury their secrets.
True, there are such men. But it may be they keep silent because they retain a zeal for God's glory and man's welfare, so that they shrink from displaying themselves black, because henceforth no good can be achieved by them.
These men deceive themselves. They fear to take up the shame which rightfully belongs to them.
I want to ask your judgment frankly concerning the condition of my health, good sir.
First, let me ask, as your friend, hath all the operation of this disease been fairly laid open to me?
How else can it be?
You would tell me then that I know all. Be it so. But, again, a bodily disease may, after all, be but a symptom of some ailment in the spiritual part. Would you that your physician heal the bodily evil? How may be this, unless you first lay open to him the wound in your soul?
No, not to thee, nor to any earthly physician. If it be the soul's disease, then do I commit myself to the one physician of the soul. But who art thou that meddlest in this matter, that dares thrust himself between a sufferer and his God?
See now how passion takes hold upon this man. As with one passion, so with another. In the hot passion of his heart, he hath done a wild thing ere now, this pious Master Dimsdale.
Tell me, hast thou been aware that Hester Prynne is not looked upon by the townspeople in the same light as 7 years ago, when she first covered herself with ignominy?
And for good reason. Her charity is boundless. In all seasons of calamity, she takes a needed place.
Aye. Even tonight she is sitting by the deathbed of Governor Winthrop. Perchance she'll stay till long past midnight, if she can be of use.
Come, child. It grows late. We must be getting off.
Hester Prynne.
Yes, it is Hester Prynne. I and my little Pearl.
Ah.
But why art thou on the scaffold?
Come up hither, Hester, and little Pearl. Ye have both been here before, but I was not with you. Come up hither once again, and we will stand all three together. Give me thy hand, Pearl.
Minister,
Yes, child?
wilt thou stand here with Mother and me tomorrow noontide?
Nay, not so, my little Pearl. I shall indeed stand with thy mother and me one other day, but not tomorrow,
What other day?
at the great judgment day. But the daylight of this world will not see on me.
Worthy sir.
Why, Master Chillingworth.
Pious Master Dimsdale, can this be you? Well, well, indeed. We men of study dream in our waking moments and walk in our sleep. Come, good sir, I pray you, let me lead you home.
How did you know I was here?
Verily, I knew nothing of the matter. I had been at the deathbed of the governor. Oh, come with me, I beseech you. Else you will be poorly fit to do the Sabbath duty tomorrow.
Mother, who's that old man yonder pulling up weeds? I have seen him before.
It does not concern me, Pearl. Run down to the margin of the sea and play with the shells until I call thee.
Yes, Mother. I'll make a crown for myself out of the seaweed.
I would speak a word with thee that concerns us much.
Aha! Mistress Hester. I hear good tidings of you on all hands, mistress. Aye. What see you in my face that you look at it so earnestly?
Something that would make me weep if there were any tears bitter enough. But let it pass. It is of a miserable man that I would speak.
And what of the Reverend Dimmesdale?
7 years ago in prison, you extorted a promise of secrecy from me concerning your real identity.
Aye.
As the life and fame of yonder man were in your hands, there seemed no choice to me. Since that day, no man is so near to him as you. And now, since you know his secret, you cause him to die a living death daily. And still he knows you not. In permitting this, I have acted a false part to the only man to whom it was left me to be true.
What evil have I done this man, that he now breathes and creeps about on earth is owing all to me?
Better had he died at once.
Yea, woman, you say truly. Better had he died at once. Never did mortal suffer what this man has. And all in the sight of his worst enemy.
Hast thou not tortured him enough? Has he not paid thee all?
No, he has but increased the debt.
Then I must reveal your secret. He must discern thee in thy true character. There is no good for him, no good for me, no good for thee in this dark maze.
Woman, thou hadst great elements. I pity thee for the good that has been wasted in thy nature.
And I thee for the hatred that has transformed a wise and just man to a fiend. Wilt thou yet purge it out of thee and be once more a human? I said there could be no good event for any of us in this maze of evil. That is not so. There might be good for thee who has it at thy will to pardon. Wilt thou reject that priceless benefit?
Peace, Hester, peace. It is not granted me to pardon. I have no such power as thou tellest me of. Let the black flower blossom as it may. Now go thy ways and deal as thou wilt with him.
Be it sin or no, I hate the man. I have come many days to this spot in the forest, Arthur Dimmesdale, hoping thy walks might bring me here.
Hester, hast thou found peace?
Hast thou?
None. Nothing but despair.
The people reverence thee.
Which brings only more misery, because of its hypocrisy. Had I one friend, or were it my worst enemy, to whom I could daily betake myself and be known as the vilest of all sinners, methinks my soul might keep itself alive thereby.
Such a friend thou hast in me. Thou hast long had such an enemy, and dwellest with him under the same roof.
What sayest thou?
Oh, Arthur, that old man, Roger Chillingworth, he was my husband.
Thy husband? I might have known it. I did know it. Oh, why did I not understand?
Oh, forgive me, forgive me.
I forgive you. May God forgive us both. But, Hester, Does Chillingworth know your purpose of revealing his identity to me?
Yes.
Then how am I to live longer, breathing the same air with this deadly enemy? Oh, be thou strong for me, Hester. Advise me what to do.
Is the world so narrow? Does the universe lie within the compass of yonder town? Whither leads yonder forest? Then there is the broad pathway of the sea.
The sea?
Yes. A ship now is in harbor that within 3 days' time will sail to Bristol.
Yes.
It will be a simple matter to secure passage with all the secrecy necessary, although art crushed under 7 years' weight of misery. But thou shalt leave it all behind thee. There is happiness to be enjoyed. Preach, write, act, do anything save lie down and die.
Oh, Hester. Hester, no. Thou tellest of running a race to a man whose knees are tottering beneath him. There is no strength nor courage left me to venture in the wide world alone.
Thou shalt not go alone.
Have all the people left their work today, Mother? Why have all these people come into the marketplace?
They wait to see the inaugural procession pass. There will be the new governor and magistrates and the ministers and all the great people. There will be music and marching soldiers.
Will the minister be here? And will he hold out both his hands to me and kiss me as he did in the forest yesterday?
He will be here, child. But he will not greet thee today, nor must thou greet him.
Oh, look, Mother. Here comes the man who lives on the ship. That's the man you talked to yesterday afternoon.
Good morrow, Mistress Prynne.
Good morrow, Captain.
I must make the steward get ready one more berth than you bargained for, I learn.
What mean you? Have you another passenger?
Why, know you not another is minded to try my cabin fare with you? Aye, you must have known it, for he tells me he is of your party and a close friend of the gentleman you spoke of will bring him abroad. His name, I believe, is Chillingworth.
Master Dimsdale's election sermon was the greatest triumph of his life.
Such eloquence. Oh, look. There goes the holy man in the procession now. He seems hardly alive at this moment. See how he clutches at his heart.
Look you. Reverend Dimsdale leaves the procession line.
And walks toward the scaffold against which stands Hester Prynne.
He is ever one to be kind to the most unfortunate.
Hester, come hither. Come, my little pearl.
Madman, hold. Wave back that woman. Cast off this child. I can yet save you. Would you bring infamy on your sacred profession?
Methinks thou art too late, tempter. With God's help, I shall escape thee now. Hester Prynne, come hither and twine thy strength about me. Support me up on yonder scaffold. So, you come with us, Roger Chillingworth.
Hadst thou sought the whole world over, there was no one place where thou couldst have escaped me, save on this very scaffold.
Then thanks to him who led me here. Hester, is this not better than we dreamed of in the forest?
I know not.
Let me now do the will which he hath made plain before my sight. For Hester, I am a dying man, so let me make haste to take my shame upon me. People of New England, ye that have loved and deemed me holy, behold me here, the one sinner of the world. At last I stand upon the spot where 7 years ago I should have stood. Here, with this woman whose arm supports me now. Lo, the scarlet letter which Hester wears. You have shuddered whenever you saw it. But I tell you,
that with all its mysterious horror, it is but a shadow of what I bear on my own breast. For behold, the dreadful witness of it.
The minister's hairs are burned from his breast.
Look you! A scarlet letter cut into his flesh.
Thou hast escaped me.
Oh, may God forgive thee, for thou too hast deeply sinned. Hester, farewell.
Shall we not meet again? Shall we not spend our immortal lives together?
Hush, Hester. We have sinned. That answer lies with a God who has the power to forgive all. His will be done. Farewell. Farewell.
Arthur.
Hester Prynne? Yes, she came back to us again.
Though she left the town for a good many years.
When Master Chillingworth died the year after the minister, he bequeathed a goodly sum to little Pearl.
And when Hester returned, Pearl was not with her.
But it is rumored she made a happy and wealthy marriage in England.
And though Hester Prynne refused to take off her scarlet letter, she has become a reverenced person in the town. No one will ever know the help she gives to others in distress. The letter on her bosom is now accepted to stand for angel.
Aye, for angel.
The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne is one of the best of America's novels, brought to you each week by the NBC University of the Air. Next week, American Novels will present that universal favorite of young and old, Tom Sawyer by Samuel Clemens. And let us remind you again that these and countless other fine books are to be had in your local public library. Many American novels in the 1947 summer series are included in the useful handbook of the World's Great Novels, which you may obtain by sending 25 cents to World's Great Novels, Post Office Box 30, Station J, New York 27, New York. That's Post Office Box 30, Station J, New York 27. The Scarlet Letter was adapted for radio by Agnes Eckert. The music was composed by Emil Soderstrom, and the orchestra was directed by Bernard Berquist. The entire production was under the direction of Homer Heck. Hester Prynne was played by Geraldine Kay, Arthur Dimsdale by Larry Alexander, and Roger Chillingworth by Arthur Peterson. The two gossips were played by Hilda Graham and Helen Baymiller. Others were Nanine Bilski, George Kluge, Burr Lee, Charles Mountain, and Duke Watson. This is Hugh Downs. This program came to you from Chicago and has been a presentation of the National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations. This is NBC, the National Broadcasting Company.
2731 West Northwest Highway, also Arlington and Fort Worth.
The CBS Radio Mystery Theater presents... Come in. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. Welcome to the world of terrifying imagination. Once upon a time, there was a poor and common man named Matthew Mall, who owned a couple of acres that were desired by a rich and titled man named Colonel Pinchian, who wished to build a house on the property. Since the colonel could not acquire the land by lawful means, he took others. The year was 1650, and he connived to have Matthew Mall declared a wizard, condemned to die on the scaffold, which is where our story begins.
Quiet!
You have not heard the last of Matthew Mole. You or your children, or your children's children. In particular, you, Colonel Pynchon, and all the family who follows you. Look at him, everyone, as a dying man makes a promise. Colonel Pynchon, God will give you and yours blood to drink.
This is the story of my long revenge, which began with the moment my adversary first entered his new-built house, with his portrait locked into the paneling above his desk chair. For there, the first of the Pynchons, the Colonel Pynchon who sent me to my death, was found dead, drowned in his own blood. The doctors called it apoplexy, but we know better. Death brought him blood to drink, the first of much, for his house was doomed.
Our mystery drama, The House of the Seven Gables, was especially adapted from the Nathaniel Hawthorne classic for the Mystery Theater by Ian Martin and stars Norman Rose. It is sponsored in part by Sign-Off, the Sinus Medicines, and Anheuser-Busch Incorporated, brewers of Budweiser. I'll be back shortly with Act One.
Buick introduces a new concept for you to consider in light of all the concern about miles per gallon. Range. Range is what you get when you multiply the mileage your car gets per gallon by the number of gallons your car's gas tank holds. Range is one of the things that help make Buick Apollo such a special small car. It comes from coupling the Apollo's economical 6-cylinder engine with a standard 21-gallon gas tank. It holds a lot, but it doesn't use a lot. Look into the Apollo. It's the Buick of small cars.
Hello, this is Goldilocks. It seems like only yesterday that I was a little girl tasting porridge. You know, this one's too hot. This one's too cold. And now I conduct taste tests on diet drinks. And there's one I must tell you about. Sugar-free Diet 7-Up. It has a fresh, natural, delicious taste. It drives my taste-o-meter crazy. Sugar-free Diet 7-Up. This one's just right.
George Washington?
Yes.
What is your favorite American food?
La Choy Oriental Vegetables.
La Choy?
The father of our Oriental vegetables.
Oriental vegetables?
Bean sprouts, water chestnuts, chop suey vegetables, delicious.
What do you do with
You toss them.
Across the Potomac?
In a salad.
Oh, yes.
Or mix La Choy Oriental vegetables right in with ground beef when you make burgers. That's my favorite. A meal fit for a king. Oh, I didn't mean a king. I meant what I am. You know, not a prime minister, not a...
La Choy makes Chinese food. Swing American.
You stand alone and wait. She's 20 minutes late. She'll find a smile will go a long, long way.
Smiles go a long, long way with Kodak's Pocket Smile Saver Kit. You get a Pocket Instamatic camera, color film, Magic Cube, extender, and more for less than $30. All at your photo dealers for a limited time only.
A smile stays lit with our Smile Saver Kit. You'll see a smile will go a long, long way.
From Kodak.
Halfway down a by street in one of our New England towns stands a rusty wooden house with 7 acutely peaked gables facing towards various points of the compass and a huge clustered chimney in the midst. So begins the second novel written by Nathaniel Hawthorne. And to tell you the rest of it, here is the tortured, uneasy spirit of the wizard Matthew Mole, who died before his time and left a curse that endured for over 2 centuries.
38 years in my grave, and yet I rise from it as casually as an ordinary man from his bed. I am seen as easily at noon as I am by the witching hour. I am an extraordinarily pestilent ghost, and I have left an estate which will mangle and torture and destroy at last the whole clan of Pynchons. Shall we take a case in point?
Yes? Well, what is it?
You sent for me, Mr. Pynchon. The name is Matthew Maule, son of him who built this house for your grandfather. Grandson of the rightful proprietor of your soil.
Oh, the ancient dispute. That matter has been settled by competent legal authorities.
In favor of the family Pynchon.
Self-evidently. I am in residence and you are not.
Then stay here and rot.
A moment, Mr. Maule. Will you attend me in the living room?
At your request. To what purpose?
Well, perhaps to our mutual interest. There's a legend that my family, that, to be precise, the same Colonel Pynchon who looks down on us from above the living room fireplace here, had a deed to certain vast real estate holdings from an Indian grant. Holdings of incalculable value.
I've heard the story.
Are you also aware that in the settlement of the estate, no deed was found to lay claim to them?
Oh, yes.
But his claim was on the verge of settlement when my grandfather died suddenly.
In answer to my grandfather's curse.
Of apoplexy.
Which is, in non-medical terms, not far from literally drinking one's own blood.
I did not bid you here to renew old quarrels, simply to make you a proposition.
Very well, I'm listening.
There's a rumor that whatever quarrel lay between our ancestors, yours was the one made the best bargain in the long run.
By being hanged?
However he died, he was only a step or two ahead of the colonel. For while the colonel won out in buying and owning the land Seven Gables stands on, he lost a kingdom when the deed to half the state of Massachusetts was lost. Or hidden.
Mr. Pynchon, what is your proposition?
Your father was the architect of this house. He might have secreted the papers somewhere or built some hidden chamber for them, which my ancestor, Colonel Pynchon, died too suddenly to reveal. I would be willing to pay well for information leading to them.
I cannot believe the colonel would have concealed something that was not his to hide. But there might be a chance for you to recover those papers. How? I'll make a contract with you. This house and the property. For the papers, if I can locate them.
No, damn me, if I'll permit it. Did you say something, sir?
No.
Why? Well, I could have sworn I heard a voice. Well, I'll meet your bargain if you can find the Indian grant.
I'll need some help. I don't know where the papers are, or if they exist. I do know that to locate them, I need the help of a medium.
I don't understand.
You have a young daughter named Alice. Bring her here. From outside the oriel window, hoard with frost against the roaring fire within, I watched my grandson toy with this Pynchon, whose only desire was to flee the dread house and live abroad. And by virtue of my right as a man taken before his time, I kept invading Matthew's mind and making it mine as far as I desired.
My daughter, Alice, may I present Mr. Matthew Maule?
My pleasure, Mr. Maule.
Will you be seated?
Father?
Do as he asks.
Very well.
Now, I ask you to fix your eyes on mine. From the moment that gentle girl raised her eyes, she was ours, mine. It was enough, perhaps, that already the Maules had the reputation that they could enter people's dreams and that no grave could hold them. By now, there was a further belief that they could mesmerize the unwary. There is your daughter, Mr. Pynchon. Speak to her.
Alice! Alice, answer me.
Oh, soft, Softly, softly, Mr. Pynchon. Is it my crime you have sold your daughter for the hope of getting back a sheet of yellow parchment?
What would you do with her?
Why, only as you asked. Use her as a medium to try to make you rich.
How?
You'll see. Unless you wish to call our barter deal off.
No. But proceed in God's name.
Very well. Listen to me, Alice Pynchon. Listen with your mind. Cast off your body. Think. Think back away through the years, but cling to me. Let him who holds the secret of the Indian land deeds come forth peaceably and without delay. Call him.
I know not who he is.
Then ask.
Colonel Pynchon? Great-grandfather? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Call on my grandfather, whom your great-grandfather hanged.
Matthew Moore? Matthew Moore? Are you there? Speak.
I hear you in the grave, Miss Pynchon. Oh, what rare sport to watch your father Gervase shivering in mortal dread, and you, my fine lady, no more responsible for your actions than a puppet. And my grandson, speaking words and using powers only I could confer on him. But the secret? The secret I am not yet ready to divulge.
Enough! Would you kill the child? Bring her to.
Without your answer?
Have you not found it?
Only this. Your grandfather's secret is one he must choke with until it is of no further value. So, keep a house of 7 gables.
Wake my daughter from her trance.
As far as I can.
What mean you?
Well, she will walk and live and breathe. But
what, man?
I meant no harm. I meant only to humble you and yours. I did not mean to steal her soul, but I'm afraid that is lost. The years rolled by, and generation by generation, I took my toll on the Pynchon brood. The once proud family dwindled and thinned out. I have had little need to move my rusty bones or decaying flesh, since they have wrought their own destruction, save till now. But in this century, I must arise again.
Cousin Hepzibah.
Geoffrey Pynchon, what brings you to 7 Gables?
Why, I take it since you have opened a 1-cent store, it is open to any member of the public?
Not to you. Never to you. Judge.
Judge not, that ye shall be judged. Well, surely after all these years, and in respect of what I've just arranged for Clifford...
You are not welcome in this house.
Not even in a public shop, Hepzibah Pynchon.
The shop is a necessity, now more than ever.
Because of Clifford's return? Or surely you know if you're in need you can call on me? Or bring your brother and yourself to live on my estate?
Oh, you know I will take no charity from you, now or ever. How dare you offer it after what you've done to Clifford?
I?
Yes, you hate him. For what reason, I know not, but hate him you do.
You do me wrong, sweet cousin. But I am a forbearing man. I bear what crosses God sends me to bear. I will not trouble you more now, but wait for Clifford's return.
4 Pynchons are left. Nearsighted, angular, tall Hepzibah in her rusty black. The smiling, fat, oily Judge Geoffrey Pynchon, who so closely resembles the portrait of that black-hearted colonel who hangs in a massive gold frame in the living room, and who hanged me by the living neck. Too, yet we are still to meet.
Bless my soul, the omnibus. And stopping before my shop door. It can't be Clifford yet. No. Then who is it?
Cousin Hepzibah. Cousin Hepzibah. Oh, don't you know me?
Cousin? Oh, no Pynchon ever looked as lovely as you, child.
Cousin Hepzibah, you flatter me, but you can't deny it. I am your country cousin. And my mother sends you her love and regards and hopes my visit to you will not put you out.
Your visit? You intend to stay?
Didn't you get my mother's letter?
No.
I don't understand about the letter.
Oh, it doesn't matter now. You're here. But, child, I don't see how you can stay.
Oh, I don't expect to be a guest. I mean to earn my bread. I can find plenty to do, cousin. The garden and flowers and the chickens will keep me out in the open air, and I can't help in the shop. Please let me stay.
Well, you can stay at least the night. But in any case, the decision whether or not you remain at the House of Seven Gables is not up to me. Tomorrow, its master returns home. My brother Clifford, who is coming home at last.
I think I remember my mother and father mentioning him, but as though he were dead. Where has he been?
In prison.
Prison? Why?
For the murder of our uncle, the judge's father, Geoffrey Pynchon.
One other young and unsuspecting girl, Alice Pynchon, came to grief under the shadowed gables of this brooding old house. Is another to share the same fate? We'll find out when I return shortly with Act 2.
And now another story of the ball and chain, as Kellogg's Special K presents Veronica and Jack.
Oh, Geoffrey, isn't this romantic? Out in a quiet lake at night with you rowing the boat.
Yes, Veronica, it's really neat.
Geoffrey, what was that?
Frogs.
Frogs that go bonk?
They're pretty weird frogs.
Oh, Geoffrey, you're such a card. You have a ball and chain, like the ones they use in those Special K commercials.
Yes, Veronica. It symbolizes my few pounds of extra weight. But I'm going to get rid of it.
How?
By exercising. You know, like rowing this boat and eating smart at every meal, starting with a Special K breakfast.
You mean a 1-ounce bowl of high-protein Special K, 4 ounces of skim milk, orange juice, and coffee?
Precisely. It's less than 240 calories, and it tastes delicious. It'll help me get rid of this ball and chain.
I'll help too, Jeff. After all, we're all in the same boat.
You have a ball and chain, too.
Your happy ending could begin with the Special K breakfast from Kellogg's.
The 74 Indy 500 is now history, and to no one's surprise, the winner was equipped with custom Monroe Racing shock absorbers. Naturally, because every single car in the race had custom Monroe Racing shocks. That makes Monroe's win record 21 of the last 22 Indy 500s. That's quite a performance, the kind you'd expect from Monroe. We're the #1 maker of replacement shock absorbers for your car, and we're the #1 choice on the track. At Monroe, we can't lose, and neither can you.
Just when you need it more than ever, you can find it more places than ever. That's Quaker State Motor Oil. Why do you need it more? Because if you're using your car less, that engine just isn't getting the exercise it needs. But Quaker State's quality protection is tailor-made to handle deposits that build up in an underworked engine. Now that you need it more, it's available more places. Nice to know.
Quaker State your car to keep it running young.
This is not my story, so let me quote from the man who first told it. The mysterious Clifford is about to return, and here is how he is foreshadowed in conversation between Miss Hepzibah Pynchon and the newly arrived Phoebe.
31 years ago, my uncle, master of this house, was found dead beneath the portrait of our ancestor, Colonel Pynchon. Death was accountable, the authorities decided, to a blow on the head. Since the desk and his private papers had been rifled, it was suspected that it was robbery and accidental murder committed to avoid discovery.
By Cousin Clifford?
Oh, I shall never believe that. Oh, you will see for yourself when he returns how gentle, sweet, unworldly. Oh, Clifford could never have been guilty.
I'm sure from that kindly face you showed me in the miniature he was wrongly judged.
No question of that. Just as I am sure that Cousin Jaffrey, why I cannot understand, was the one most instrumental in sending him there.
How could that be?
It was he who discovered Clifford by the rifle desk, our uncle lying on the...
Oh, hush. Dear Cousin Hepzibah, think of the present and not on the past. Soon Cousin Clifford will be home again. But surely it grows very late if he is coming today.
Oh, well, you'd best off to bed. Perhaps I should greet him alone. Oh, dear, how shall I manage?
May I help, Cousin Hepzibah?
Oh, I'm old thumbs when it comes to cookery. You see, I've lost whatever art I had all these years alone. And I wanted Clifford's first breakfast to be so tasty.
You have a fire going bright enough to chase the morning dusk. Since the oven is hot, would you like me to bake an Indian cake?
Oh, it was Clifford's favorite all those years ago.
Well, then bake it I shall. What else can I do?
Oh, the coffee. Real mocha, if you would grind it.
We'll make a breakfast fit for a king.
A tired, sad king, worn out by exile.
Is he not well?
You shall see for yourself soon enough, dear Phoebe. Oh, hush, he's coming. Let him see you first, Phoebe. He likes bright faces, and mine is old, set in a scowl. Clifford, dear, let me help you.
The weakness is locked inside Hepzibah. Nothing you or anyone can help. But we are not alone.
No, he is Phoebe. Phoebe, Arthur's only child. You remember I told you about her last night.
Phoebe Pynchon. Phoebe. Arthur's child. Yes, I forget. You are welcome.
Thank you, Cousin Clifford.
Oh, come sit here. Take this chair.
Is this you, Hepzibah? How changed. How changed. And are you angry with me?
Oh, why should I be angry?
And why do you bend your brows so?
Oh, Clifford, there is nothing but love here. If I scowl, it is only habit that has gone before.
Cousin Hepzibah is only worried and concerned that you should be happy.
Then why do we keep that odious picture on the wall? Why can't we... What is that sound?
Why, that is... Phoebe, will you answer it?
Of course.
That is the tinkle of the shop bell.
Shop bell?
Yes, sir.
Then, has Miss Hepzibah's shop opened under such favorable circumstances that she needs an assistant as attractive as you?
I'm a cousin of hers, on a visit from the country.
Well, in that case, I suspect you are a kinsman of mine. Let's see, oh, yes, little Phoebe Pynchon. I am your kinsman, Judge Pynchon, my little niece. Oh, surely I must pay you welcome. You resist me.
I had not meant to.
Oh, quite right, quite right. A young girl, especially a very pretty one, cannot but be chary of her lips.
I did not mean to be unkind.
Oh, I accept that. But are you afraid of something?
Nothing I know of.
I'll just step in and...
What do you want, Geoffrey?
Why, simply a short visit with my...
No. He cannot see visitors.
I warn you to take care. Clifford is on the brink of a blacker fate than yet possessed him. I need to see him, though.
Go, Hester. Don't let him in. Beg him on your knees if you must. Ask him to have mercy. Mercy.
You heard.
I heard. But must I... You will not let me see him.
I want to protect him.
As you will. But you do me great wrong, cousin. I only wish to help him. I will find some other way.
He seemed kind. Is his offer of help so wicked?
Phoebe, he has a heart of iron. Oh, let me go back to rejoin my poor brother at breakfast. Of all of us, he's the one who most needs protection now.
Don't do it, lady.
What?
Drink from that. Or even wash your face.
I was only looking at my reflection in it. May I ask who you are, sir?
Oh, forgive me. Miss Pinson has not mentioned me.
Mr. Holgrave, the boarder.
The same, at your service. And you must be Miss Phoebe. Which gable is yours?
Oh, my window is the one... Perhaps it is more seemly to ask the question of you, sir.
By all means. I count mine the 7th, since it is by all odds the most remote and separate. See, up yonder, beyond the eaves.
You live there all alone?
A question hard to answer, Miss Phoebe.
Why?
In the house of the 7 gables, is anyone truly alone? It's hard to tell whether the rats outnumber the ghosts, or vice versa.
Then why pick it as a lodging by free will?
If you must know, I can afford little, and the rent suits my purse. The house also suits my profession.
Your profession?
Mm-hmm. I'm a maker of daguerreotypes.
How fascinating. Can you really point a machine at someone and make a likeness of them?
I can. You doubt it?
Why, it sounds like a kind of magic to me.
Technically, in its way. But the result is a quite faithful reproduction of the subject. For example, this.
Oh, you created this?
I recreated this, shall we say.
It is a likeness.
Never mind the likeness. Miss Phoebe, look deeper. What kind of man is this?
Why, by all effects, a man of probity, of kindness, of property.
Is the picture that alone? Or can one look deeper?
Not knowing the subject, I don't see how.
Look at that eye. In the midst of a sunny countenance, speaking of an open heart. And yet, observe carefully the cast in the eye, the line of jaw, the subtle twist of mouth. Here is the man, the true man, sly, subtle, imperious, hard, and withal as cold as ice. Do you recognize him now?
Judge Pynchon. Still, there's some other resemblance.
The daguerreotype is of the living judge. The resemblance is quite marked. Give or take the style of whisker, the fashion of cloth, the bloat of jowl, it could be the original Colonel Pynchon who choked on his own blood.
Why have you this picture?
For the same reason, I wish to have all the Pynchon clan. Miss Phoebe, will you sit for me sometime?
All right.
In any history, one must balance the good against the bad.
Who are you?
A recorder of history by choice. Miss Hepzibah's lodger by chance. Will you sit for my portrait of you?
To what end?
That is beyond my power to say at this moment. Only that I can promise you, you are safe from any harm.
And what do I get out of it?
Well, first, what you put into it. Second, a record of your beauty. And third...
And third?
No less than your future. One way or another.
Then how can I refuse?
My object was to make sure, as best I could, that you shouldn't. For once, I was resting more secure in my rotting grave. The urge to wander grasped me less. The Pynchon dynasty was a sorry lot at best, save one. And a new dynamic force was guiding my course to its resolution. It was time to start to pull my winding sheet more closely about me and begin to leave the future to itself. But not yet. The curse was not yet played out.
The mysterious Mr. Holdgrave. Who is he? What threat does he pose to Phoebe? Perhaps the only breath of sanity to blow sweetly through the dusty corridors and winding staircases of both the Pynchon history and the house that encloses the living, as tight and inescapable as the coffin in the grave. We'll return shortly with Act 3.
You don't see many people putting salt in their beer nowadays. Not that there's anything wrong with salt on radishes or French fries, but man, not in the king of beers. Truth is, the only thing salt can do for Budweiser is make it salty. An unwise thing to do to the only beer in America that's beechwood aged. Unsalted Budweiser has become the most popular beer in the world. That's because in brewing Bud, the Budweiser brewmaster goes all the way for a taste, a smoothness, a drinkability you'll find in no other beer at any price. And something else you can take without a grain of salt. The fact that when you say Budweiser, you've said it all. Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis.
If you're serious about taking care of your lawn and garden, you're in for a lot of hard work. After all, it's nature itself you're trying to control. Hi, Frank Lieber here for True Value Hardware Stores. If there are ways around that work, well, you find them there. For instance, they have a Black & Decker Power Shrub and Hedge Trimmer with 13-inch double-edged blades. It trims on both back and forward strokes. It has 2 handles for balance control, and it's double insulated for electrical safety. Just $17.99. Another Black & Decker you'll find at True Value Hardware Stores is a deluxe lawn edger trimmer. The controls are up on top of the stand-up handle. The 8-inch blade cuts a 3/4-inch deep trench. It converts quickly into a trimmer, just $39.99. These Black & Decker tools give you 2 ways to get around hard work in the yard. And they're just a couple of the values that you'll find at the True Value Hardware Store nearest your home. Check the yellow pages.
For 2 centuries, the curse of the hanged wizard Matthew Mall has hung like a cloud over the house of the Seven Gables. The dark, deteriorating, rat-infested, and ghost-ridden house has outlived its time. Only the family to which it belongs hangs on to some distant remnant of the past.
There, Cousin Clifford. Safe in your little eyrie and retreat.
I trust you, Phoebe, to find me this spot in my private gable. While from here I can see all the world.
The bustle of our little town, certainly.
How free I feel after all those years. I have the wildest impulse.
What, Cousin Clifford?
Are you too young, perhaps, to remember when we blew soap bubbles? A glass of soapy water.
And a clay pipe.
Yeah, the pipe I still have.
Well, the soapy water I can provide.
But the lost years, where can they be found again?
I wish his life were more than a shadowed gable overlooking the street.
My Cousin Hepzibah, to watch the whole stream of life flow by is at least an introduction to the thought of returning to it.
Oh, well, perhaps you're right. Here's your soapy water. Take it to him to blow bubbles.
My window on the world, Phoebe.
The
best vantage point in town.
You picked it for me. And without your support and love and interest, I suppose I should have just let the world go by.
Well, you can't do that if it's passing right by your feet.
Dear little Phoebe, you almost make me human again. That band coming by. Open the windows so that the sound can rumble into this lost dark room. I scarcely know. I get infected with strange madness. Like when I blew the soap bubbles in one burst on Jeffrey's head. Perhaps I should never get too close to life.
What do you mean?
You know the feeling when you're on a height. It is exciting, exhilarating, until you look down. Then there is this wild compulsion to throw yourself, to dash yourself to the ground.
But Cousin Clifford, everyone does it.
See that everyone doesn't do it.
Christmas.
Save me. I cannot help myself.
No, stop.
Let me go.
No.
I can't help myself.
But I can. Cousin Emperor! Cousin Emperor!
You can't stop me. Nothing can stop me.
Help! Help! Stop him, please! Please stop him!
Good morning, Miss Phoebe.
Mr. Holgrave, how can I thank you?
For what?
For answering to my cry? For helping me hold back my cousin Clifford?
It's only fortunate that I was nearby.
I don't know how to explain.
Why should any of us try to explain the human effort, drive, psyche? We all react to our impulses and dreams to a greater or lesser degree. Did your cousin really want to jump?
I was with him. I could scarce hold him. Why would he pretend?
Why, indeed. At least there was no disaster. I'm glad I was part of avoiding that.
I can never thank you enough. How can I do something in return?
Sit for me. Let me make a daguerreotype of you.
That's simple enough. But why?
I wish I felt myself free to answer that completely, but, well, at least one obvious reason. There should be some permanent record of your beauty.
I'm afraid you overstate your case. Or my case. So I must admit that even if you had not half admitted it, I would suspect you of some ulterior purpose.
You never have quite trusted me, have you?
It's just that I sense you are not quite what you seem to be. That... Oh, I don't know what I feel. What do you want my image for?
Say that I want a record of the Pynchon family.
And that alone?
No. My other purpose, I must keep to myself.
I could refuse.
I hope you won't.
It would be ungracious of me. I offered to do something in return for helping save Cousin Clifford's life. When?
The sooner the better. There is a skylight in my gable room. The afternoon light would be perfect. If you'll meet me there at 5, I'll be ready for you. I never thought to see the day I would harbor any kindly thoughts for any Pynchon. But I find I have it in my heart to accept poor, withered Hepzibah and the half-mad Clifford. And as for Phoebe, well, she shall have an unseen protector observing from beyond the skylight window. There now, Miss Phoebe, we're ready to begin.
Should we not have the door open and the windows unshuttered?
No. I want no other light source than what strikes across my shoulder to you from above. And we must catch it now. All right, are you ready?
What must I do?
Well, lift your eyes to mine, above the lens. So, now, relax. Think of something soothing. Blue sky. The ripples on a sunlit pond. Oh, yes. Yes, that's lovely. Don't try to smile. Just stay in repose. When I expose the plate, you must not move for 20 to 30 seconds. Now, take a deep, slow breath and hold it. Now the plate is exposed. copper on which a film of silvered iodide has been formed by iodine vapor. The sands are dropping through my minute glass. And slowly, your image develops on the plate. This 1/2 minute, I hold you mesmerized, only to make you immortal, never to be forgotten, to last till the end of time. Now you may relax. It's all over. Phoebe? 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 I've mesmerized her. Phoebe! Oh, God help me to resist my evil desire. Phoebe! Phoebe! Forgive me if now I say what I have not dared to say to you, nor ever will, perhaps, so long as you are a Pynchon. Phoebe, I love you. Love you with all my heart. Have loved you since that first moment I saw you in the garden. I have not, cannot dare to hope when all is known that you could return that love. Yet here, at this moment, with you completely in my power, I could cast a spell on you that would hold you forever mine. No, Phoebe. Rather that you were never mine than to hold you bound to me against your will. Phoebe Pynchon, can you hear me?
I hear you.
You are safe. You know that.
Safe.
You will have no memory of the trance you are in now.
No memory.
And when you wake, you will feel refreshed and your same lovely self. You promise me?
I promise.
Then, when I snap my fingers, wake.
Oh, is my portrait all finished?
Yes, Phoebe.
May I see it?
Oh, no. I have much to do before that. This one, I want to color. I would not have you see it in black and white.
Oh, then I shall have to wait to look at it till I return.
Return?
I must go home to visit my mother and father and bring back the rest of my clothes.
You intend to stay on at Seven Gables, then?
Cousin Clifford needs me. And Cousin Hepzibah. I think it is my duty.
To wither and dry up like them? Before God, I pray you find some better fate. Some better fate indeed. Back in my grave, my bones are ready to settle to eternal sleep, and the curse is ready to be wound up. And the day after Phoebe left became the beginning of the end. Look at him, striding along the street toward the 1-cent shop, the picture of the man who owns most of the world and who intends to clutch the rest of it to him. The 200-year reincarnation of the Pynchon who put me 6 feet under. Judge Jaffrey Pynchon.
Judge Pynchon. Yes, Cousin Hepzibah, the same.
What do you want?
Well, what else, cousin, but to have done with all this? I want to see Clifford.
No.
It is my purpose to do so before I leave this house.
Haven't you done enough to him?
30 years ago, our uncle died. His immense fortune was left to me, save for your life interest in this property and the house of the Seven Gables.
To Clifford, not to me.
Some months before our mutual uncle's death, Clifford boasted to me that he knew the secret of incalculable wealth. I believe that at this moment, if Clifford retain his wits and, if he chooses, he can tell me where the riches can be found if he chooses.
And if he can't, or doesn't?
Back to the dungeon. I'll await your bringing him in here in the old colonel's chair. It should in any case have been mine by right.
I wish you ill of it, but I shall go find Clifford.
So come the years full circle. Revenge is as dusty in my mouth as these old bones which moldering cry for eternal rest. Only one more remains who deserves his fate. The same one that overwhelmed his liverish ancestor, who still pouts like a peacock in the frame of the portrait behind the judge's head. God give him blood to drink.
No, no. My watch. Whip. I have appointments to keep, important things to do. I can't. I can't.
Drink deep and die, and dies the curse with you. I found him here, Phoebe. Dead of apoplexy, the last of his line.
But Hepzibah and Cousin Clifford...
They inherit the judge's country estate. Bright with sunlight, with no dark gables to hem them in. I've already moved them there.
I'm so bewildered. What shall I do now?
Phoebe, I have an offer.
What?
Well, first, let me reveal who I am and what I know. A 2-century-old secret guarded to prove that might is not always right. Look, the curlicue pattern around the portrait. So many bits of detail, and only one that holds the power to open the vault where the ancient document lies, behind the portrait. All that blood for a piece of parchment, clothed in the dust of 200 years and not worth even the paper it's written on. A sad and silly secret handed down to me.
But who are you?
Like you, the last of the Pynchons, I am the last of the Maules. Matthew Maule, and with the end of the family curse, I feel reborn. Or will if...
If what? Matthew?
Shall we end it all? Will you marry me, Phoebe, whom I love beyond all, and put an end for good to family feuds and tragic doom?
Oh, yes, Matthew. Yes. On one condition.
You have only to ask.
That we leave and shut up forever the house of the 7 Gables.
For several years, the house still stood. There were those who, passing it after dark, swore they could hear the tinkle of the harpsichord Alice Pynchon once used to play, the sound of the 1-cent shop bell, the cough of a man choking. But in a very few years, this had little of flesh or blood left in it, like all legends about haunted houses. This one's only special claim to fame was that it had, if you counted them, 7 gables. I'll be back shortly.
I want that sinus medicine.
Headache tablets?
No, sinus medicine. Sinus tablets. Helps the headache and the pressure.
Oh, you mean sign-off.
Exactly.
Headache pain is one thing. A sinus headache is something else. Sometimes your whole face can seem to throb with pain. You want relief. Take Sign-Off tablets. SINEOFF, the sinus medicine that gives you a full dose of pure aspirin, plus a sinus drainer. Sign-Off, the sinus medicine that helps relieve sinus pain while you drain. And Sign-Off doesn't stop there. Have you tried Sign-Off Sinus Spray, the fastest known form of sinus congestion relief? It works in seconds. That's Sign-Off Sinus Spray. When sinus flares up, use Sign-Off tablets and spray, only as directed.
SINEOFF.
Sign-Off.
Exactly.
Sign-Off, the sinus medicines in the bright red box.
You've been hearing some pretty lavish claims recently about miles per gallon. We'd like you to consider something equally important, and that's range. Range is the miles per gallon multiplied by the number of gallons your car's tank holds. Range is what makes the Buick Apollo such a special small car. It comes from coupling the Apollo's economical 6-cylinder engine with a standard 21-gallon tank. It holds a lot, but it doesn't use a lot. Look into the Apollo. It's the Buick of small cars.
Oh, Oh, sure. You can talk about good-tasting diet drinks, but I know. I'm Goldilocks, and here at my taste-testing laboratory, I taste-test them all. And nobody's been drinking my diet drinks until I tested sugar-free Diet 7-Up. And then, kabloomy! Every bear wanted some. Diet 7-Up is fresh, natural, delicious. Sugar-free Diet 7-Up. This one's just right.
It should come as no surprise that Judge Jaffrey Pynchon was the one who really murdered his uncle. To have made gentle Clifford the scapegoat was reason enough for Matthew Maule to reach that powerful hand once more from the grave and exact what so seldom happens to the villains of this world: due retribution. Our cast included Norman Rose, Arnold Moss, Bryna Rayburn, Jada Rowland, and Stats Cotsworth. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown. Radio Mystery Theater was sponsored in part by Buick Motor Division, the Kellogg Company, makers of Kellogg's Special K cereal, and new sugar-free Diet 7-Up. This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams.